watching this red table talk that they didn't address this when this happened? Why was this allowed to fly under the radar for so long? She is on here on Facebook Live, on her show, in front of millions of people, talking about getting tampered with as a child by her own grandmother. And she's boasting about it like it was a good thing, like it was a good life lesson that she wants to pass off on to other kids. And I was 9. Yeah, you were freaking taken advantage of. Someone needs to lock your grandmother up. She's a horrible person. Talking about, she wanted to show me that this pleasure came from me and not another man. Meanwhile, you're 9 years freaking old. You shouldn't even know about what this stuff is. I wasn't whacking off at the age of 9. I wasn't thinking about that stuff yet. And I'm glad I wasn't, because I was allowed to have a childhood. Jada obviously wasn't. Jada was over-sexualized by her own family from the beginning. And then when she goes on these talks and she talks about how Will Smith can't please her, that's why. It's not because there's a problem with Will Smith and Will Smith can't get it up and Will Smith is bad in the bedroom. It's probably because this woman has been over-sexualized since the age of 9. So normal touches and normal physical, encounters and romantic encounters don't please her anymore. Because she's all the way gone. She's all the way over-sexualized. So to get off, she has to sneak around and sleep with her son's friends and weird stuff like that. Because she can't get off to normal stuff anymore. She can't get off to a normal man's touch like her husband's touch anymore. Because she has been getting, I can't use the words. I hate not being able to use the words. Because she has been getting fiddled with since the age of 9, probably younger than that, by her own family members. And not just that, she is 50-something years old and she hasn't realized that was wrong yet. This woman is in her 50s, sitting here talking about this and has not realized what actually happened to her, that she's a victim. So when you see that she's cold-hearted, when you see that she's this over-sexual woman, this is why. This is why. Now, I'm not painting her out to be a victim. I still don't like Jada Pinkett Smith.
Hold position.
When you really want to
Come
dive
on.
into what makes people act the way they do, when you really want to dive into, why is someone this way?
Hey.
Okay. I think this is probably one of the reasons. And her mother's sitting there smiling about it. Her daughter's like, yeah, that's right. No, that's not
Heads
right.
up.
What is it?
Oh my
Go check that out.
I'm on it.
Sorry, I know I'm high energy right now, but I just can't believe that it takes me,
Heads
of all people in this world,
I'll
to
mark
have
it
to
on
call
your
this
map.
shit out.
We can use all the support.
Look alive.
Hundreds
Okay.
of millions of people have seen this so far, and no one said anything about it. 9 years old. And then she's sitting there talking in front of millions of people. And these idiots, sorry, I'm not trying to be mean here, but a lot of these idiots who follow up behind these celebrities and follow up behind Jada like she's some goddess, they think this is cool now. Oh, you know what, Jada, you're right. Maybe I should go teach my daughter how to do this. And I just can't get over the fact how she tried to make it sound like so good. Like her grandmother was trying to do a good thing for her, showing her that this pleasure comes from you, not man. No, that pleasure was coming from your grandma when she was filling on your kitty cat. God.
Am I ever glad to see
And then you wonder why Hollywood's so messed up. And then you wonder why this
Minutemen are always.
a pack of
is out here taking...
I'm on it. It's as good as it.
Broadcasting all day, all across the Commonwealth.
Welcome to Jackass. Taking advantage of other young people. It's because she was taken advantage of when she was young. Hurt people hurt people. 9 times out of 10, these people who prey on younger people are people who were preyed on before them. And I know that August was of age when she had sex with them. However, there was still definitely a different dynamic there. There was supposed to be like a mother-son dynamic there. He was very much a young man who wasn't ready for what he was getting himself into. And she took advantage of that, knowing that he was going through mental issues, addiction issues, and you name it, and she took advantage of that. She preyed on him. And regardless, he's 19, 20, okay. He's hanging out with your kids, playing video games. take him away from them for a little while, and you sleep with him, and then you send him back to play more video games with Jada. Why? Because you're over-sexualized. Because normal things can't get you off anymore, and you have to do this weird, kinky stuff in order to pleasure yourself, because obviously your grandma has been pleasuring you since the age of 9. Oof. These Hollywood people are messed up. And the fact that she got her happy ass on that red table and talked about all the everything, I find it hard to believe that she, as a grown woman in her 50s, doesn't realize that this was not a good thing that happened to her. Yet she's promoting it on Red Table Talk. So you have to understand, not only is it thing, but she's normalized it in her own mind. Now, she's promoting it for the next generation. So instead of acknowledging how that was weird, she's trying to normalize it and then pass it on. That's why it's here on this Red Table Talk. That's why she put it here. She's proud of it. She thinks this is a good idea. And then you see the other women saying that, oh yeah. This is not it, y'all. This is not the way to go. So in many ways, I feel like Jada has become cold-hearted because of a lot of these things that she was obviously going through in her family that she tried to tuck away. And it probably made her more cool and callous towards people. And just like she said, her grandma, while her grandma was playing with her, while her grandma was playing with her, she was telling her things like, oh, you don't need a man. This is from you. Blah, 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 blah. And she was basically down-talking men while she was playing with her granddaughters. So now, Jada Pinkett Smith is older, and she's resentful towards men. Probably cold-hearted towards men.
Stay safe out.
Because she feels like she doesn't need a man, and she feels this, that, and the third. Because her grandma's been playing with her since she was a kid, while telling her that she doesn't need a man. This is a hard topic to talk about, man. Not only because I have to watch what words I say, but because I'm absolutely shocked and disgusted. So she grew up being taught, like, to basically despise men in a way. I mean, if you're 9 years old and your grandma is feeling you up while trying to take these down, and I think that's why she's so over-sexualized, and it radiates off of her in a way. I don't know what it is, but there's something about her, like the sexualness of her. And it's not because she's the most sexy person in the world, although Jada Pinkett Smith is very attractive. But there's something like this sexual radiance, like it just radiates off of her in a way. And people who have been around her in person all say the same thing. And it's because she's a sexual, deviant, monster demon who has literally been played with by her grandma since a child and thinks it's okay, and she wants to play with her grandkids the same way.
Don't think twice about messing with the brotherhood after.
Do you think she was that? I do. By the time Willow Smith was like 11, she was posing nude in bed with grown men in magazines and stuff. So yeah, I'm sure her mother was. Oh man. I'm trying not to get kicked off of YouTube today. Okay? But I feel so strongly about this. This right here. What's up, a Cinema Shogun here, and I'm sure by now the majority of you all know what OnlyFans is. Hell, some of you all probably work on OnlyFans. And if that's the case, no judgment here. I don't knock anyone's hustle, get that money, baby. I've been thinking about making my own OnlyFans.
Great news.
If I did, would you subscribe? Let me know down in the comments below. Maybe I should launch an OnlyFans of my own. But speaking of OnlyFans, this little story caught my eye today about an OnlyFans star who murdered her boyfriend in her
You're
Miami
tuned to
apartment.
Radio Freedom, voice of the Minutemen.
In the blood of the boyfriend she just stabbed to
Look alive.
death,
Go ahead.
What now?
OnlyFans
Our
model
scouts have found a
Courtney
promising
Clinton
spot for a new
can be
settlement.
seen shivering on the balcony of her Miami apartment while being interviewed by police in a harrowing new video. Clinton, 25,
Hey.
known on the subscription service as Courtney Taylor, stabbed her boyfriend Christian Abumseli in the shoulder amid a struggle at their Miami condominium on Sunday, police said. Abumseli, 27, was rushed to a nearby hospital where he died from his injuries. So that's surprising. He was stabbed one time in the shoulder. I'm not sure if it hit his heart or some type of artery or something, but he passed away from his injuries at the hospital. The influencer, who has not been formally charged in her boyfriend's death yet, was hospitalized over mental health concerns after making threats about ending her own life while in police custody. Her current condition remains unknown. Investigators are working to determine if Clinton, whose neighbor alleges was abused by Abumseli, acted in self-defense. Miami police responded to multiple disturbance calls at the couple's apartment over the last 3 months. A neighbor claiming to have direct view of the couple's apartment said he witnessed Abumseli strike Clinton about a week before the fatal stabbing. That's kind of weird. So I guess this neighbor is like looking into their apartment and he alleges that he saw some things.
Voice of the
I'll get to that.
Stay safe out there.
I could not tell if it was open-handed or closed-handed, but he was swinging at her, the unnamed resident said. However, a trio identified themselves as close friends of the couple, alleged the social media star was the violent one in the rocky relationship. So these were his friends, their mutual friends, and their claim that she was the violent one. And let's just see what else they have to say. We've seen her hit him. I've never seen him hit her, Sean said. From what we've personally experienced between the both of them, we believe that Christian would have put her in a position where she would need to stab him to protect her.
Radio Freedom, broadcasting
We
across
didn't
the
think
Commonwealth.
this is how far it would have gone, Tahiki Banks said.
Tuned here for updates.
Even that we really lost Christian only, even though we really only lost Christian, it feels like we lost Courtney at the same time. So they're upset because they lost both their friends at once. You know, one of their friends got killed by their other friend. So I know that's extremely difficult situation to be in. But, I mean, I don't know whose word would you take here. I don't want to say creepy neighbor, but this guy, like, looks into their apartment and he admitted to that. So that's kind of weird. And these people who know them and their friends, they say, well, no, it's the opposite. The shooter, that's always hitting on them. So we don't know. Who has lost more than $2 million, was hospitalized under Florida's Baker. The law allows law enforcement, judges, doctors, and mental health experts to commit a person to a treatment center for 72 hours if certain violent, hurting your tendencies are displayed. It is unclear if or when she will be released from the hospital. However, new content was added to her OnlyFans page the day after she was arrested. Whoa, talk about awkward. I guess she had like pre-scheduled content coming out. So there's literally new videos of her having sex with her boyfriend coming out on her OnlyFans page, even though he's dead and she's in jail.
Voice of the Minutemen.
That's, oh my
All
God.
which is how we like it.
Woo.
Stay safe out
That's
there.
kind of weird, right? But hey, I mean, that's definitely something that would throw you off. specific details surrounding their relationship remain in question, it does appear the couple has been together for several years. Their friend said Clenny and Obumseli moved to Miami from Texas a few years back. The group, which reportedly dined, traveled, and regularly socialized with the pair, said they are completely distraught over the situation. He was just really high energy, bright, intelligent. He would bring a...
I switched to World's Best Cat Litter because it's long-lasting and it's reliable.
It really does
All
truly
quiet here.
contain
Stay
the
tuned
scent.
for Minute
I was
Men
like,
Alert.
yes, that was a big deal for me.
When we got World's Best Cat Litter, we had no idea that it was vegan.
Dust-free, chemical-free. You don't want a bunch of chemicals being tracked all around your house.
It's really World's Best.
No way. I'm going back to the vegan stuff. I switched.
For the love of cats, go naturally safe. Switch today. There are more ways to be though. There are more ways to bring appearances to the table.
There are more ways to be clear. And there are more ways to say thanks.
Smile anyone, Josh Ramsey said. These are our friends. We've gone on vacation with them. We've gone to dinners with them. We've gone out on the town with them. And it seems like it's straight out of a crime documentary. I mean, imagine that. Imagine befriending a couple and you never really having an independent relationship with either part of the couple. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're not just friends with the guy, or you're not just friends with the woman. You met them together and you hang out together, and that's your friendship dynamic. And now, this friend was killed by the other friend, and it's like, what? That's definitely going to put people in a hard place. But I feel like the fact that they're speaking out and saying that she's the one that was the more toxic one in the relationship says a lot. Especially because, I mean, two of these friends are women. And I would think that the women would be more sensitive to the woman in the situation. And if they're saying that she's a toxic one, I kind of believe them because I think they would take the woman's side if anything. But maybe I'm wrong. Of course, every situation is different. I'm just saying statistically, it would be more likely for the woman to take the woman's side. So if they're saying she's a toxic one, then I feel like that means she's super
Broadcasting all
for them
day,
to
all
acknowledge
across
it.
the Commonwealth.
But I mean, we're on the outside
Alert.
looking in
One of our
here.
settlements is
So
asking
I don't
for
want to jump to
help.
any
All Minutemen,
conclusions
please
because
respond if you're in
he
range.
maybe was the bad one in the relationship. We don't know. We do not know. But I feel like it's something that you have to keep an open mind to because people are so quick to write off the males in the situation like the males are the bad guys. And I feel like we've been learning a lot lately that sometimes the women are the toxic, vindictive, evil ones in the relationship. I mean, she did kill him after all. But I can't imagine putting myself in the friend's shoes. A GoFundMe account established in support of Obumseli's family has raised more than $65,000. The account creator said Obumseli was killed a week before his 28th birthday, leaving many unanswered questions, and it creates a void that can never be fixed or filled.
It's 5 p.m.
That someone's selfish act ripped Christian away from this world. It's not enough to say we are shocked and hurting. We are utterly devastated. Christian was extremely compassionate, with a desire always to uplift those around him. Not deserve his life to be cut short by a heinous act of violence. We will never forget his infectious smile that could light up any room, or his caring spirit. So, I mean, it's a sad situation overall. A relationship gone haywire, and it ended in the worst way possible. I think we can all agree on that. But it's hard to really pass judgment in this situation because, like I said, we're on the outside looking in. But I can tell you, from how I feel reading this, this body. This guy is probably simping across the street. Who knows, maybe he gets free access to her photos and videos if he just takes up for her and says that she was the one getting abused. I think we would have to question, why are you looking in their house in the first place? Are you trying to get glimpses of this woman or what? You know? So I don't know if I can take his word for it. I know that maybe he heard a lot of disputes going on over there, but when you hear things, you can't necessarily place who started it. You know, you don't know who started a situation when you're just in a neighbor that's hearing some yelling and screaming. Now, he says that he saw him swinging at her. How he saw that, I don't know. But I don't think we could just immediately write him off either, even though he kind of gives me weird vibes. Just from hearing that he looks through the window and watches them sometimes, it kind of gives me a weird vibe. But we can't discount that either. So, who knows what really happened here? All we know is Christian lost his life. And this other woman, the OnlyFans star, is in a mental ward right now because she had a straight-up psychotic breakdown afterwards. There is video of it, but it was obtained by TMZ, of course. And TMZ, they copyright all these clips, even though it should be public information. TMZ buys these clips and they copyright it, and then they extort YouTubers like me who try to show you all these clips. That's why I haven't showed you the clip. But you can go online and you can find it. There's not much to it other than what you saw in the photos. Basically, her on the ground, them establishing some crime scene tape. She's covered in blood. It looks like her dogs are covered in blood. And I guess they're carting her boyfriend out of there. And it's just an extremely horrific situation. Who knows what led up to it? I'm sure we will get a little more details. But for now, we just have these conflicting stories. And it's kind of up to you to decide what you believe. And I know it's a really hard position to put yourself in when you have these things.
What next?
We have the friends that know them personally.
Is there something you need?
Come with me. I need your help.
I'm with you, General. Don't worry, dog meat.
It's 6
I'll
o'clock.
take good care of him.
Nothing to report. Tuned here for a
And I will do the same. Like I said, I'm leaning towards believing the friends, especially because of the way she was acting afterwards, which I think says a lot. So I'm leaning towards believing the friends in the situation. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you in the next video.
Try our spicy Cajun chicken sub with sliced, grilled Cajun seasoned chicken breast, house-made Cajun mayo, and jalapenos, all on a toasted sub roll. Only at Firehouse Subs. Click the banner to order pickup or delivery.
I don't remember Philip. Used to work in a movie theater and customers would get mad when we asked them to throw out outside food. And when you're autistic, you get take perspective drilled into you. So I see both sides. Like, yeah, it's weird because like certain things I can see, like, oh yeah, like, you know, you can't bring that in. Like, you're not gonna let somebody bring like a fucking pizza, for example, right, into like a walk-in theater. Like, I get that. But then there's other things where it's like, why? Like, if it's a little bag of candy, why not let them fucking bring it? Or if it's like,
It's getting dark out there.
I don't know, I've literally seen a movie theater ask someone to toss out a bottle of water. And I'm like, why? Why the fuck will you not let them bring in a bottled water of all things? Like, I don't know. Some theaters get really fucking ridiculous with it. Fucking bottled water? The fuck? I don't know, dude. That's why I prefer the drive-in theater, because you can take whatever the fuck you want. Some people will take fucking, like, beer with them. They'll take, like, a little ice chest with beer in it to the fucking drive-in theater. Like, it's crazy. Nos, the grapefruit energy drink. I think it technically is grapefruit. It's some kind of citrus flavor. How does it, actually, you know, I don't think it's grapefruit, but it's some kind of citrus flavor. I I don't know what the flavor is, but it's good.
All quiet, which is how we like
Does
it.
not give out the
Stay safe
flavor
out there.
of energy drink. I mean, it's an energy
This
drink.
is
So.
Sure, go ahead. When we first met, I admit,
Zoe
I had my
is
doubts
owned
about
by
it,
some
but you've
guy
done
named
nothing but
Dwayne.
impress me.
Some guy named
Uh-huh.
Dwayne Johnson.
Thanks.
You mean
That means a lot
the
coming
guy
from you.
from
You've
Fortnite?
probably realized by now. When I
The guy from
we had a,
Fortnite. Did
It
you guys
sounds like
see
you were
that
really
after
making a
the Super
difference.
I
Bowl?
think we,
The official NFL
but
YouTube
these
channel
you're probably
uploaded a
correct.
clip
Mm-hmm.
from the
We
Super
are the
Bowl
good guys.
where The
We're doing
Rock was
anyway.
like, giving a speech
Anytime,
or some
Preston.
shit.
Thanks, man.
And
Sure.
instead of saying, Dwayne Johnson or The Rock, something like that is more recognizable, instead of saying that in the title, they said the guy from Fortnite gives an electrifying speech. It's like, what the fuck? The guy from Fortnite? Like, really? That's what you title that video? Which, by the way, I need to play Fortnite again.
Sneaking up on us.
They had a birthday cake flavor. Actually tasted like cake. It was so weird. Who had that? The Zoa? Oh, Bane. Oh my god, I can't drink Bane, dude. Like I said, every once in a while I'll treat myself to an energy drink. I usually regret it because I get super irritable and anxious when I do it. But every once in a while I treat myself to one. I usually get like a Monster or a Nos.
You're tuned to
And
Radio
occasionally a Red Bull,
Freedom.
even though I'm not the biggest fan of Red Bull. But
All
Bang,
quiet across the
Bang
common
has
zone.
like
Stay
triple
safe out
the
there.
amount of like caffeine in it than like a normal energy drink.
There's
So
something
holy fuck.
wrong.
There were 2 times that I tried Bang, and both times I felt like my fucking heart was gonna explode. Like, oh my god, I will
Terminal should
never
open
drink
this.
Bang Energy ever again. I will never, ever, ever drink Bang Energy drink ever again. Hell no. You should try some YouTube products. I've done it before. Like I tried the Mr. Beast bars. They were good. I like them. Actually, I like the Mr. Beast bars a lot. I want to try Logan Paul and KSI's. What's that drink called that they put out? I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Somebody will get it in chat. But I wanted to try that, and I can't find it anywhere. It's sold out everywhere. If you don't bang, you can't hang. I literally cannot hang. Prime, thank you, 8030. I literally cannot hang with Bang Energy Drink. It's too much fucking caffeine. For someone like me, who's caffeine sensitive, like, oh my god. How about that can G Fuel 300 milligrams of caffeine a can? Same thing. Look, I bought, because I'm a Resident Evil fan, I bought the G Fuel that has Nemesis on it. I still need to get the Maiden's Blood. I don't have that yet. But I bought the G Fuel that had the Nemesis on it just because I wanted to have it in my collection on display. And I actually drank it. If you look, I drank it. I just rinsed it out so I could display it afterwards. But, oh my god, I felt like I was going to die when I drank
It's
this.
5 a.m.
Oh my
This
god,
is
G
Radio
Fuel's
Freedom,
ridiculous.
voice of the Minutemen.
I like
All
G Fuel
quiet.
for the flavor
Got
and
it.
stuff. It's really good.
Stay
That's
safe
why
out
I drink the G Fuel Hydrate. G
I
Fuel
don't know a
Hydrate
thing
is like
about these old
vitamins and
computers.
electrolytes, but it doesn't have caffeine. Right? So I drink these, but I cannot have G Fuel Energy because it. Oh my god, like it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. Just got here. Insert chill sandwich joke. Nice. The G Fuel more like sucks. Yeah, I don't like the energy G Fuel, but I do love the Hydrate. Hydrate's good.
This looks like a good place to
Somebody
stop
was
for a bit.
asking where the alligator in the sewer part is. It's coming up pretty quick. Yeah, Rock and Ruin is here. What's up, Rock and Ruin? G Fuel is meh as fuck in my opinion.
Yes.
That's one thing I'll say too. That Nemesis tea. That's what it was called. Nemesis tea. That's very good. I gotta get the Maiden's Blood just to have a full collection. I just want to have it. So it's good. Because I'm a Resident Evil fan, and it's Resident Evil themed, so I have to get it. Which, by the way, I still have to play Resident Evil 8. I have not played Resident Evil 8 yet. I have to. Hey, Nico. Just heard about what he was saying in Omegon's chat. What was he saying in Omegon's chat?
Got it.
It's funny because I think Rock and Ruin was in. I don't know if it was Rock and Ruin. There was somebody in my chat earlier saying something about Omegon stole Mana from you, and I'm like, well, no, she was never actually mine, so it's not really stealing. Yeah, I saw it now. Resident Evil more like poor man's Outlast. The fuck? It's not even the same kind of game. What?
Nothing to report at the moment. Stay tuned for updates.
Which I never really, if I'm being honest, I never really cared for Outlast. I remember when the PS4 first came out, if you had PlayStation Plus, that was like one of the free games they gave you to play on it, and I didn't care. I didn't like Outlast. Wasn't for me. But I'm really picky with newer games, honestly. You threw yourself at Omegon for sure. Rocket League, though, that's the real shit right there. Yeah, obviously I like Rocket League. I enjoy it. I believe they had two games, yeah, two Outlast games. I was gonna try to put a medal in there, and I don't even have any of them yet. Resident Evil has 8 games, and all of them suck. Those are just the main games, okay? There's dozens of Resident Evil games at this point.
Radio Freedom, voice of the Minutemen.
Like, there's so many Resident Evil games, I don't even think I can name them all off the top of my head. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, Survivor, Code Veronica, 0, Remake, fucking Dead Aim, the Umbrella Chronicles, the Dark Side Chronicles, Gaiden for the Game Boy Color. Like, I can go on and on. There's so many fucking Resident Evil games. There's so many.
Broadcasting all day, all across the Commodore. All quiet.
RTU collab stream, but only if they're both shirtless the entire stream. I would do an RTU collab stream. I would not be shirtless for said stream. So, I'd love to do a stream. Sure. RTU. It'd be fun.
It's not every day that we get squires out to the field.
I want to see tipsters and reps. I don't, surprisingly for a fat guy, like I have a little bit of man titty going on, but for a fat guy, like my man titties are not that big. The funny thing is, my man titties only took more when I like started losing weight, as opposed to like gaining weight. Like I was fat, but I didn't have man boobs. But now that I've lost weight, like I guess like there's a little sag there now, so now I have man boobs. It kind of sucks, but it's whatever. What are you gonna do about it?
You're tuned to Radio Freedom, voice of the Minutemen. Nothing to report. Stay safe, people.
Can't believe I was lucky enough to get this assignment.
That's the thing, when you get fat, you get man titties. Either that or if you have, what's that shit called? Gynecomastia or whatever? Like some dudes can get like, they look like actual woman tits. Show them middies and let the chat decide if you got boobs or not. I'm not showing shit, bro. I'm not showing shit, bro. You on some bullshit right now.
Sure you want to go any further?
This is Radio Freedom.
Dipshit, you see, you should play WWE 2K22. It's really good. The last time I played a WWE game was 2K15, and I was like, bro, this is disappointing. So I haven't played a WWE game since. I show titties, do it, Dumbo. No. How about no?
All quiet here. Stay tuned for Minutemen alerts.
I'm not here to be objectified by you, Nico. I'm a human being. I'm not a piece of meat. Show us your figure. I surprisingly don't have a lot of figures. Like, I have some Resident figures. Like, you can't see it, but, like, off camera here, like, I have a Code Veronica figure that, like, a fan sent to me. And then there's, like, a bunch of Resident Evil 2
Don't have any
figures.
bobby pins.
But I don't have, like, too many figures, honestly. I would like to have more, but I just don't have room for them. If you just do it, I'll stop. No. Dude. If you're over 300 pounds, you're not human. You're a walking piece of grade A moves. Jeez. It's funny, the predictions of my weight, they're all over the map. I've been told I'm over 300 pounds. I've been told I'm over 400 pounds. I've been told I'm over 500 pounds. Like, it's crazy to see, like, the predictions, how all over the map they are. Don't give them any ideas, Ricky.
This is Radio Freedom. Nothing to report. Stay safe, people.
I know Nipster was a thing at some point.
I guess you've got your reasons, but that just looks like junk to me.
Okay, I did get it. For a second there, I thought I forgot to get the other.
I want to be as good as you.
Man, we're kicking up a lot of dust.
Combat. No, you're not gonna see the tippy nippies. What the fuck, dude? Fucking disgusting. I don't know why my wife would want to see my tippy nippies, let alone fucking you guys.
For whatever you are, I know you are out there.
Tipster versus Nicholas Theory boxing match. I don't know about a boxing match. I did challenge him to a weight loss challenge in here for you. Like, I was down. I was willing to put money on the line.
Please lower your weapon.
This is Radio Freedom, the voice of the Minutemen. It's 7 a.m. Nothing to report at the moment. Stay tuned for updates.
I'm ignoring you now, Nico. I'm just gonna ignore you now. Do a weight loss challenge with Lily. I think you'd be willing to do that.
Are you sure you want it?
Why does it sound like bouncy? They do in certain areas. They do. It sounds like a bouncy castle.
Damage.
I thought it was the only one.
I am a victim.
It depends on the server you're walking on.
Surgical failure.
Those fat sunlight pieces of titties, those jokes filled with cartons
I
of
regret
milk.
any support.
Those cum dispensers on your chest. Those good old numbers. Apparently Grace good shit. That was like my solo of choice back in the day was. I don't know what it is about it. For some reason the escape version
Quiet across
of
the
this
town.
game sometimes when you open this door, it sounds like a wind. See, it's supposed to sound like that when you open the door. But sometimes when you open this door, and it's specifically that door, it sounds like a wooden door. It's the most bizarre thing ever. I can't wait till everyone is like, man, remember in the early 2020s, whenever YouTuber was boxing? First it was like the fucking diss track craze, and then it's like the fucking boxing. What's gonna be the next craze? YouTubers wrestling in WWE. Did Logan start the next trend? Maybe the coding one's crazy? Yeah, I mean, maybe. The YouTuber UFC craze? That's true because now Jake is trying to fight in UFC. I think even Logan challenged some UFC fighter, didn't he? That was weird. Imagine Logan fights The Rock in WWE? No, that'll never happen.
Nothing to report, sir. Greetings, sir. Operating at full.
I just want to see some fatalities. What does that even mean? If it did, I would hope the Rock bodies Logan. I mean, yeah, that would be cool. But, I don't know, like, I see, like, some people shitting on Logan for his WWE appearance, but he actually performed, like, he surprised me. He actually did really well. Imagine if CM Punk and Jason David Frank bought the UFC. Dude, like, I wanted that to happen so bad. Back when, fucking Jason, or whatever, is that his real name, Jason David Frank? I feel like it's, I don't know, maybe I'm having a brain fart. But anyway, I know who you're talking about. When he challenged CM Punk, I was hoping and praying that shit would happen. And it didn't. Because that guy actually knows how to fight, like, for real. A lot of people think of him as just like, oh, he's just a Power Ranger. But, like, no, like, he actually knows mixed martial arts, like, for real. Why did that sound like an air horn? It kind of does, doesn't it? Pat McAfee sold that stunner like a pro, for real. He did really good. Overall, like, the guest appearances, I guess you could say, at WrestleMania were really good. Although Pat McAfee, he's a commentator, so he's not technically a guest. He did good, though.
This is Radio Freedom. Nothing to report.
Oh my god. What the fuck, man? I mean, there are The thing people don't understand about those spammers is, like, you can ban them all you want, they just come back on alts. Like, it doesn't matter.
This is
Those
Radio
spam
Freedom,
bots spam
broadcasting
everywhere.
all day, all
And, like, you
across the
ban them, they
Commonwealth.
just come back with another alt.
All quiet here.
So, like,
Stay tuned for
I
Minuteman
feel like some
alerts.
people don't realize that. So they think, like, oh, why are they still allowed here? They're still coming back. And it's like, dude, they don't come back, like, just because they didn't get banned. They come back because they create an alt. Now, to be fair, this is the GameCube version, and it's emulated with the HD texture pack. But even so, I think the Resident games in their original state. I remember back then seeing these graphics and thinking, like, it can't possibly get any better. And obviously, you know, it did. But, yeah, I remember thinking, how did you meet Tommy C? I was, kind of following his career on Instagram. So I was looking up videos, they were covering it, and I saw a live stream covering it, and it was Tommy C, and I believe it was also Dead on Dave. Tommy C and Dead on Dave talking about Starball people called in during that stream. Like, I randomly tuned into some random stream, and yeah, I just watched it, and ever since then, like, I would regularly watch Tommy streams. So I kind of, like, started talking with Tommy around that time. So that's how we...
I knew it.
Tommy C is funny. Yeah, he can be, for sure. Because everyone's on that craze where they have to accuse YouTube of termination. Yeah, I guess. But I get that a lot of my chats are like, they're like, why did you disband them? They keep coming back. It's like, yeah, they keep coming back on all because they are getting banned.
Hi there.
You were amazing out there, sir.
I don't know
You
why
handled
I'm
yourself
sleepy. I
well.
slept well last
It was
night. I woke up feeling like super refreshed. I think it's just because I'm getting old. I'm getting tired now because I'm getting old. It's AIDS. Is that Doom sounds I hear? I don't know, is it?
It's 1 p.m. This is Radio Freedom, voice of the Minutemen.
Those sound like the lifts in
Nothing to
Doom 1
report
and
at the
2.
moment.
I don't think
Stay
they
tuned for
are, but
updates.
they could be. You guys enjoy Doom 3? It's funny you asked that. I talked about Doom 3 earlier in the stream. I thought it was okay, but I was kind of disappointed with it when it came out. I remember being like really hyped for it, and then when it came out, I wasn't like I enjoyed it for what it was, but it wasn't that great. Kind of let me down. High price. Now Doom 2016. Oh my God, that's amazing. Because I feel like Doom 2016 is a proper update to the original Doom. Like, it feels true
Captain,
to the original
welcome back.
Doom.
I
But,
take it the training mission went well?
you know, it's updated, obviously.
Roger
Doom,
that. Good.
Doom 3 was too
We can
much
all
of a drastic
let me know when
from the originals.
I'm happy to help out.
You went from, like, a fast-paced run-and-gun game to a game that prioritized, like, kind of, like, sneaking around slowly in the dark and stuff. Dead on Dave whenever he went. He wants to do one. We just have to nail down the second to do one.
Good afternoon.
Typically when he streams, I'm still at work, so that's what makes
across
it
the
hard. We'll
Commonwealth.
have to do it on a day where I have
Nothing new
like
to
a day
report.
off or something.
Keep it tuned here for Minutemen alerts.
Probably. Yeah, Doom 3 was more survival horror than action. Exactly.
So,
That was my biggest problem with
Valorant
it.
Alpha at 93%. Compensate.
Doom 64? Doom 64 is great. I love it. I haven't played it since the original 64 version came out, but... Is Doom 64 on Xbox One?
the Commonwealth.
When you say Xbox One, do you mean the original Xbox, or the Xbox One is a previous gen Xbox? I don't think it is, but I'm pretty sure it's available on the current gen.
This is
I don't know, I could be
Radio
wrong on
Freedom,
that.
broadcasting
Maybe
all
it is, I
day,
don't know.
all across the Commonwealth.
Did I play the original Metal Gear Solid on PS1? Yes, I did. I love it. I want to stream that at some point. Like, I downloaded it recently specifically so I could stream it. So we're going to stream that at some point. Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
All
that's what I
quiet.
thought.
Stay tuned for Minutemen alerts.
Hey.
I hope you're here to help.
Tipster, have you played
That's right.
through Metal Gear on the
What's
NES?
this?
I have played Metal Gear on the NES, but I've never completed it. It's kind of hard on the
Right.
NES, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The MSX version's better anyway. Larix versus LT Cobra boxing match. Isn't Larix like an adult and LT Cobra's still a minor? I don't think that would work out, dude. Tips, you're not alone. Indy ran into bot spammers as well. The only way to stop them is keep banning them or turn on automated filter section in your settings. Yeah, and I have the automated filters on, but they can get around those too. Because all they do is, like, if they detect that they're trying to spam your chat and it's not working, then they just change the spam they use to, like, get around it. So there's ways around it, unfortunately. Yeah, the MSX computers, they were popular in, like, Japan and in some parts of, like, the UK. Yeah. We didn't get them here in North America. But, you can play the MSX computer versions on Metal Gear Solid 3, like that Ultimate version they put out. I forget what it's called. Wasn't it, like, Subsistence or some shit like that? Oh, LT Gover's 18 now? Oh, okay. But, yeah. Tipshare, any idea how to get GoldenEye 007 on the SNES Classic running? I have RetroArch installed the N64 emulator, but the game runs like crap. Any idea? I didn't mod my SNES Classic to play anything other than other Super Nintendo games that were already on it, so I don't know. I'm sure there's probably videos on the internet you can find that could help you, but I'll be honest, I couldn't help you with that. The only thing I will say is that N64 version of GoldenEye is extremely difficult to emulate, so you might not be able to get it to run at all, if I'm being completely honest. Pretty much any form of emulation of the N64 GoldenEye I've seen
Radio Freedom,
either performs at really shit frame rates, or like it's like got serious graphical glitches or stuff.
Stay tuned for updates.
Just something about GoldenEye, it's just never emulated very well. If you want to emulate GoldenEye, the best way to do it is to download the Xbox Live leaked version and stream that using Xenu, or emulate it using Xenu. It's basically the same game with better graphics, and you can even switch to the old school graphics mode if you want it to be like the original. MSX, I have an MSX2 on my Super Console X, searching for Metal Gear currently. Nice.
Don't think I won't hurt you.
Yeah, Ricky, don't know, IP blocks aren't even supported on Radio either, so... I don't think you said IP blocks. So as well, do you prefer gaming consoles from back then over current gen? Definitely the older stuff. Definitely the older stuff. But I'll admit it's nostalgia goggles. You just found it? Nice. Yeah, definitely play the MSX version. It's so much better than the NES version.
Excuse me.
We did it! I was afraid we were making a mistake trying to stand up to those bastards.
Seriously,
The Minutemen
no,
came
dude.
through for us.
What I hate about the original GoldenEye is the fact that, like, I'm good at it and I love playing the multiplayer, but nobody wants to play with me because I'm so
Got
good at
anything
it
else
that
for?
I just,
Hey,
like,
stay there.
so nobody ever wants to play that game with me. It's kind of a bummer. I only got one person to play with me. We played the emulated Xbox version using Parsec, and I beat the shit out of them. That was, well, actually, it was two people. I did that with Moogle, and I did that with Top Loaded Gaming. And they both got destroyed.
Your tune? Radio Freedom.
Super Console X, 50,000 games
We
on
just
it,
got a call
plus
for help from one of our
ROMs for
settlers.
$180.
Minutemen within range.
Yo, you should let me know about that thing, because I have been looking for some kind of emulator console that I could just plug into my stream setup and have access to like a shit ton of games on it. So hit me up on Discord or on Twitter or something with where you got that console, because you might want to get one. Because it'd be super convenient to have like just one device that I plug into my stream setup and just have a bunch of games on it. Tips, you ever thought of playing Resident Evil Survivor? Heard that game is a shit show. I've played and streamed it before, but yeah, it's been a while. I would stream it. Do you wish ill on anybody? No, of course not. Like, even people that I legitimately hate, I would never wish ill on them. I just dislike them. I'm not that kind of person that wishes them anything to them.
This is Radio Freedom. It's 4 a.m. Nothing new to report. Keep it tuned here for Minutemen alerts.
If wishes were fishes, then they could never be able... Then they could... If wishes were fishes, then they could never be able to fishes. What does that even mean, Ricky Donut? What? I'm so confused. Tim, you always say RE2 is your favorite, but what is your second favorite? Is it Donkey Kong? Yeah, probably. Donkey Kong Country. I mean, those are the two games that I play like a shit ton. If I had to pick a top 5 favorite games of all time, Resident Evil 2, and I'll say them in the order from most favorite to least favorite. Resident Evil 2, Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Metal Gear Solid. Those are probably my top 5 games of all time. Imagine forgetting one word and it makes a mess of, messes up the joke. Damn, dude, that sucks.
This is Radio Freedom. All's quiet across the Commonwealth. Stay safe out there.
So you think you'd still upload content on YouTube many years from now? I mean, as long as I enjoy doing it, then yeah, sure. Oh shit. Fucking asshole. Would you do game suggestions? I mean, I'm always open to people suggesting games. But ultimately, like when I go to play a game, it just depends on what I'm in the mood to play. But yeah, I'm always open to suggestions.
You're tuned to Radio Freedom.
Strip poker? No.
Nothing to report. Keep it tuned here for updates.
Out of bobby pins.
Let's do
I think the word canceled is overused. I do. I think people don't understand what, like, actually getting canceled is. Like, when I think of getting canceled, I don't think of people shitting on me, like, merely shitting on me for something I did wrong or said wrong. I think of, like, people going after sponsors, people trying to get me deplatformed, shit like that. That's what I think when I think of cancellation. But too many people use it for, like, oh, they criticized me because they disagreed with something I said or whatever. Like, that's not getting canceled. And so many people use getting canceled for that. So yeah, I do think it's overused. I think a lot of terms nowadays are overused. And allegedly can add ROMs to it through the SD card slot. It has its limitations though. Some games, like 2%, don't play on it. But if you got a PC with horsepower in regards to the Super Console, I have to look this thing up. Super Console X. I've never even heard of that. But I mean, if it's good, like you have it and you like it, I might get one. Because I would love to have, like I said, some kind of emulator console that just has like a bunch of different consoles in one system. So I can easily just play a bunch of games. And have it hooked up to my stream setup. Super Console X. What is this? I don't even know what this is because I'm doing it. What is it? Did you link it in the Discord? Let me see. Where did you send it to me, Doug? Because I want to check it out. First game console you owned and still have to this day. I still have my original Atari 2600, so the very first console I ever had. Not familiar with Discord. Here, I'll just I'll give you my email address. You can send it to my email. Just link it to my. I googled it, but it came up with a bunch of different systems, so I don't know which one is the one you got. And I can't show like most of them are Amazon listings. I can't show that because fucking Amazon docs is over. So, I'll give you my email address and then you can link me the one you got. Let me bring up my YouTube channel here.
You're tuned to Radio Freedom, voice of the minute.
There's my email address. Just email it to me.
Nothing to report.
And if it's good, like if you say it's good, I'll pick one up and I'll use that to stream more retro games.
You're tuned to.
Because right now what I do is basically some games I emulate on my PC.
Nothing to report at the moment.
Some games I play on my SNES Classic. Sometimes I have to hook up my Super Nintendo Classic for other things. Like, it's a pain. So I'd like to have just like one fucking system to connect to the stream setup, and it just plays pretty much everything I want to play. You search for it on YouTube, and it was on YouTube, Mr. Gamer? Alright, let me see if I can find it through YouTube now. It uses Emule Elect. I'm not even familiar with that. Console X Pro in-depth review. Okay. I see a channel called Retro Game Pro that's talking about it. Okay. And apparently there's like Super Console X King Edition, Super Console X Turbo Edition. Yo, this thing plays PSP and Dreamcast games? What? Dude, this thing sounds awesome.
Good morning, Commonwealth. This is Radio Freedom, the voice of the Minutemen.
And then there's also the Super X
All quiet
Console
here.
Pro.
Stay tuned for Minutemen alerts.
This thing might actually be awesome. I might have to get this. You can get a Retron console in. I used to have the Retron, and I currently have a pre-order in for the Polymega. I'm just waiting for it to arrive.
Waitron will take your order. Welcome to the General Atomics Gallery.
Radio Freedom,
You
voice
must
of
be
the
on the
Minutemen.
supervisor.
All quiet is how we like it. Stay safe out there.
Remember, you are the pride of General Atomics. Any deviation from standard operating procedures must be authorized by the director.
Wow, I tuned in at the moment for credits roll. Yeah, perfect timing, right? I have the Retron 5, but it's not playing every cartridge. Yeah, I had a Retron 5, and most of the time I had it, it was pretty good. Like, I liked it. But after a while, some of the cartridge slots stopped working. Since your content has been making me feel more happy again, I will be an emotional day on Tuesday. Keep good work. Thank you. And sorry to hear that you're going to have an emotional day on Tuesday. I don't know what's going on, and you don't have to share. But, you know, whatever's going on, I hope you're okay, man. What's next? I should probably start... after this credits roll screen, I think I'm going to wrap the stream. Because I should probably start getting ready for the day-to-day. In terms of, like, my wife and I going on our date later. So, while these credits roll, let me pull up Twitch and YouTube so we can get ready to raid someone. We gonna raid someone today. Ooh! I don't bother to raid anybody on D-Live or Trovo because nobody fucking watched me over there. I'm seriously considering, again, like, ditching D-Live and Trovo because literally nobody watches over there, so what's the point? Literally. Okay. What was my score? Let's see. How did I do? A B rank?
You here visiting Covenant, pal? If not,
let's see.
I'd like to visit.
I'm
Since
trying
you're
to see, Top Hat Chats live.
Not a bad call.
You do we?
Yo, so check this out, guys. There's this chick on Twitch, Sneeble.
Hey,
I
Swanson.
used to watch her Resident Evil streams. Like, I loved her Resident Evil streams. She's
You here
actually
visiting Covenant, pal?
And I have no idea why, but I got banned in her chat, and they blocked me on Twitter. Like, I didn't even chat in her chat, I used to just be a lurker. I requested an unban, and they denied me immediately. What did they say? No drama lines. What the fuck does that mean? Y'all saw it here first. I've done nothing to this streamer. I've had no negative interactions with this streamer. And I got banned. They're upholding my chat ban for no drama lines. What the fuck? That's cringe. Alright, whatever. Get fucked. Jesus. I've literally never said or done anything with YouTubers. I used to lurk on Resident Evil streams while I was working.
I can't see.
Jesus Christ. Get fucked. Alright, rating today. Let's see. Let's rate Dad. Dad's good people. Let's see. The name. Raid. Dad feels. Okay, so the Twitch people watching, I'm gonna go ahead and send you guys over to Dad. Go ahead and show Dad some love and support. Probably because you covered drama and she thought you were part of it. It's whatever, dude. People who like, and granted, I used to be a quote drama YouTuber, but people who get super cringed out over drama YouTubers, like it's so fucking stupid. I don't understand that. People act like they're above drama, but whenever there's some spicy drama going on social media, they're so quick to fucking engage with it. They can pretend like they don't, but they absolutely do. Alright, who else is streaming over here? We got Gamer Thumb, Doc on the radio. I want a great Doc. Who is this, and why am I subbed?
Oh, did he? Pretty well. Oh, there we go. We got somebody. Look at that. I have to move around so they don't think I'm dormant or
I don't even remember this person.
It won't let people join?
Yeah, I don't remember who this person is, but whatever, we'll rate them. Fuck it. It's my YouTube channel. Go ahead and drop a tipster rate in their chat. I'll join in once I see one of you guys do it. Oh, hey, for those of you guys who like to play Among Us, they're letting people join for Among Us. Let's go. I should do Among Us games with you guys sometime. That'd be fun. But yeah, today was a fun stream, pretty chill fucking stream. If I get time, I'll stream tomorrow. But if not tomorrow, for sure, I'm going to stream on Monday. Like, for sure. For sure. Drop a YouTubers have communities. I guess so. Fucking hell, dude. I can't believe I got banned from someone's chat.
Whoops. I didn't expect that.
That's too advanced for me.
Really? None of you guys are gonna raid? Okay.
Let me know if anything works. Because if not, we'll just do something else. Raid? Girl, I don't know how I feel about that. What does that mean?
Oh no, they're one of those people that don't know raids are a good thing. Okay. Yeah, I guess somebody's gonna join the raid anyway. You guys are A's! Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the stream anyway. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have been fucking amazing. I'll see you guys in the next stream, which most likely will be on Monday. But if I get a chance tomorrow, I'll stream it too. So, until then, peace out, everybody. You guys enjoyed the stream as much as I did. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Oh shit, did I? Yeah, I did. I'm an idiot. Hold on a second. I closed out my music that I want to use for my outro. What the fuck, Tipster? Why did you do that? What are you doing? Why you do these things? Fucking dumbass. Alright. There we go. Alright, I'm headed out. Peace, y'all.
This is Radio Freedom. Nothing to report. Keep it tuned here for updates.
Reds is a delicious and convenient way to kick off your day.
What does it mean to love in freedom?
There's a certain fluidity in your interactions, right? It's friendship versus marital prison. We agreed that she had to make herself happy. I had to make herself happy. Then we were going to present ourselves back to the relationship already happy. You know, and
That should be the prerequisite for anybody actually getting married.
absolutely, it's like
Just like I didn't know what to do, but I just knew. I was like, I never wanted to be married.
there wasn't a day in my life that I wanted anything other than being married and having a family.
Wow.
The way my mind works, I can only excel for a woman. Like I can't.
It's 8 a.m.
This part of my life.
All quiet, which is how we like it. Stay safe out there.
This is called happiness. Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something.
This is Radio Freedom. All quiet. Stay tuned for Minutemen Alert.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the court. I got a couple of topics for you today. From the bizarre to the predictable, it's always interesting to watch and see how the world reacts to certain things. And in the case of William Smith and his bald-headed wife, Jada Pinkett Bald Smith, I didn't see this coming. So Will Smith gets banned from the Academy for 10 years after he had already quit. So he can't attend events. Events that he wasn't going to attend anyway. Universally seen as a weak sauce penalty. It's like pathetic, weak, proves that Hollywood isn't really interested in following through on the things that they say that they expect us to believe are important. But then something hilarious happened. Something even I couldn't predict. And it's actually amazing. And we'll get into that after a quick word from this video sponsor, Meta PCs. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Meta PCs. Look, you've been around, you know that I've been talking about Meta PCs for a very long time. In fact, it's the primary computer I use. But it's not just because they're a sponsor. It's for so many more reasons. They have fully customizable, configurable PCs and all the hardest to find parts in stock, ready to go. They also have ready-to-ship PCs ready for you today. Here's a couple reasons why I like Meta PCs. First and foremost, it's veteran ownership. Meta PCs is a veteran-owned business. One of Meta's owners has served both in Afghanistan and Iraq and received a Purple Heart for service. Meta also employs military veterans in Meta's Operations Center and also provides systems that veterans go back to school to help them re-enter the workforce all across the United States. They offer financing. It has 100% U.S.-based sales and support. And when you receive your PC, it's ready to go right out of the box. You don't have to get complicated to set things up. You just plug it all in and you're ready to rock.
9 a.m.
And on top of that, Meta PCs is offering you, my viewer, a huge discount when you use the link in the description or you use promo code THEQUARTERING. If you use my code at checkout, not only do you save money, but you support my content and a company that will not bow to cancel culture. So maybe you're not ready to pick up a new computer today, but when you are, remember to go to metapcs.com and use promo code THEQUARTERING to support me and to save money. So
So after the punishment rolled out, most normal people... Hey, by the way, you know, Meta PC isn't just for gaming. It's a computer I use, but it's also the same one I recommend to friends and family. You can build whatever you want, and then they have pre-builds that are ready to go too, and they're an awesome company that has stuck by this channel in the face of insane weirdos on Twitter demanding they drop me, and even other partners having problems with me. So, yeah, so they have kind of a special spot in my heart. Oscar's punishment for Will Smith's slap is pathetic and weak. The morons who run the Oscars gave Will Smith an amazing gift on Friday for going after and battering Chris Rock on stage in front of millions of viewers after Rock made a joke about Will Smith's bald-headed wife. The 53-year-old actor was banned from the next 10 years of Academy Awards. We should all be so lucky. Smith, who treated a glamorous primetime telecast like a 2 a.m. roadside bar in Wichita, egregiously gets to keep his shiny Best Actor statuette he won for King Richard, now surely nestled on a shelf next to his 10 hard-won Kids' Choice Awards. No charges have been filed against the actor for storming up to another man and raising his hands to him, and its current inaction of any indication, the FCC will let him be. Imagine how difficult the situation must be for a poor man, for this poor A-lister. Smith's net worth is $350 million. He's been nursing his emotional wounds in a $42 million mansion in Calabasas, California. The 1,500 thread count Egyptian cotton bed sheets are surely stained with tears, and he must be running out of crud. I don't even know what that is. Too drained to ask his personal assistant to go buy more. These are the hardships you and I could scarcely fathom. And now Smith's only consequence from the Academy for an offense that would get just about anyone else in this world a visit from the police and an axe from their employer is that he cannot attend the Oscars for a decade. Smith himself chose to resign from the Academy. This is a punishment? Bear in mind that this by the way, bear in mind that Smith isn't exactly Meryl Streep with a reserved seat at the Oscar like it's a standing table at Rouse. King Richard was his first Academy Award nomination of any kind since 2007's The Pursuit of Happiness 15 years ago. The only photographic evidence of Smith attending the Academy Awards for any reason since 2010 was when he was a presenter in 2014. You see, banning Will Smith from the Oscars is like banning me from the gym. I wasn't planning on going anyway. The gym is boring and pushes me to my limit, and so do the Oscars. Smith makes prestige movies as often as I do push-ups, and he likely wouldn't have been nominated again. The ban is totally meaningless. But what do we expect from the hypocritical Hollywood overlords? Isn't it typical how, when not assaulting comedians or committing heinous #MeToo crimes, filmmakers lecture us ad nauseum about our behavior and our beliefs and our accountability in normal world, and which they show such disdain for, when they treat their own enormously unstable community like a kindergarten full of toddlers who still can't tie their shoes. They sent teary little Willie to timeout corner. That's it. If you needed more proof that celebrities do not believe that they are beholden to the same basic rules as you and I are, here it is, folks. And that's exactly what my position was. The only real punishment that would make any sense whatsoever would have been to completely remove his Oscar. Like, I mean, I don't really know any other way to talk about it. You know, that's the only penalty that would have mattered. But according to Twitter, a black man battering another black man live on television in front of 20 million people is racisms? What? Let's ban the Oscars via Los Angeles Times. Academy's Will Smith ban met with disbelief and accusations of racism. Will Smith is facing a 10-year ban from events held by the Academy of the Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for acting like an idiot. But the reaction to the Film Academy's decision Friday was met with mixed results, ranging from disbelief to accusations of racism. While the King Richard stars repeatedly apologized and accepted the Academy's decision, the organization contended that its ban was a step toward a larger goal of protecting the safety of performers and guests and restoring trust in the Academy. No, the only thing that you could have done that would have showed any spine whatsoever is taking his Oscar away. Because that would have crushed him. That would have made other people in Hollywood stand up and take notice, because they care about these shiny things. You know, like, I don't know where my 1,000,000 subscriber plaque is. I don't even know if I still have it anymore. But these lunatics would, like, worship at their altar of their awards. And it would have been the only fitting punishment. But many people on social media didn't see it that way, and celebrities were mostly silent. Some critics characterized the Academy's ruling against a Fresh Prince veteran as racially motivated, while others saw it as the group making up for lax repercussions for past transgressors. Again, we're talking about an invitation to a party for the next 10 years that Will Smith has a history of never attending in the first place, and we know, based on his acting, he's unlikely to be nominated for anything anyway. They cited inappropriate behavior at the Oscars, like Adrian Brody, who planted a kiss on Halle Berry, or that of comedian Jim Carrey, a critic of Smith, who made a live show advances at Alicia Silverstone. The 10-year ban they gave Will Smith feels very make a lesson of this black person, tweeted author Frederick Jost. Okay. Another person writes, this is 100% racially motivated. Twitter user Samari replying to a news story about Smith's punishment. Jim Carrey did, and by the way, ban them all. Like, I mean, yeah. And the same people that are like, yeah, but they let Roman keep his, and they let that other loser Harvey keep his. Take theirs too. Like, why is this so easy for any normal person to see? Others contrasted the Academy's swift action with the Ali and concussion actor with delayed punishments involving disgraced Hollywood players such as Roman or Harvey. Amid, Will Smith is becoming the face of the "they don't love us, just what we create" was not on my bingo card. Did that slap translate to this? Wait, I'm sorry. How did the slap translate to this when they have to actually ban predators? I agree. But also, I think you're talking about black folks, which I disagree with. I would think that Hollywood basically fetishizes you and worships the POC. They worship at that altar. But if you're talking about viewers, yeah, we don't like you. We may like your movies, but we don't like you. I guarantee there is very few people in Hollywood that I could share a beer with. Maybe Chris Pratt. I don't know. Let's ban the Oscars for 10 years too. So many predators still not banned. Okay. Crazy how the Oscars have allowed racism to happen with no consequences, but they chose to ban Will for 10 years all over a slap. A crime? A literal crime committed on TV? Matt Midler, a harsher punishment would have been a mandatory sentence for 10 years, quipped scandal alum Joshua Molina. Yeah, I would say probably. If you look, this was Oscars So White started trending again, with hot takes like, this is just supremacy in action. This tweet got 38 likes. Will Smith is rich and he'll be fine. He's set for life. He's the elite. However, all the poor black men who aren't the elite, who are disproportionately retaliated against for showing the slightest human emotion, will not be. I'm sorry. The slightest human emotion is storming up on stage in front of 3,500 people and hitting them. That's not a normal slight human emotion. That's assault, my friend. Battery, technically, right? I mean, all these people tweeting like, yeah, just like the justice system makes the black man an example. 10 years? Get out of here. Like, look, first of all...
We found some good loot today.
As far as I know. By the way, both of them, one of them is, I think the other one is not yet, but both of them should be in jail. Okay, they're both heinous creeps. Alright? Let's get that out of the way. But what Will Smith did is a crime, and he did it on live TV. Why are these people acting like, oh, he just got in a shouting match or whatever? No. He raised his hand, and like, this is the thing, dude. Like, running defense and trying to excuse this is exactly why this behavior continues. So we're giving everyone an excuse for acting like a moron. I mean, this dude is worth $350 million. He has everything on the planet. He has access to things that all of us could only ever dream of. He had no excuse for doing what he did. And he did it anyway, and he got no punishment for it. And Twitter's right there to save us on it. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Last night, Primetime reported that First Lady Jill Biden's Secret Service detail was infiltrated by foreign operatives. Two foreigners, one of them linked to Pakistani intelligence, were posing as Homeland Security officers while they were bribing White House Secret Service agents with rent-free apartments and drones and flat screens. Now, at the time, we just thought it was only the First Lady's detail that was breached. But today we're finding out the Secret Service agents entangled in this little bribery scheme were also assigned to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So these guys had access to the highest levels of the White House while raking in gifts from foreign intelligence operatives. As if this White House didn't have enough problems already now, they're looking at a massive Secret Service scandal. Jeff James is a retired Secret Service agent. So, Jeff, what strikes you immediately about this scandal?
Well, what strikes me first is that it really never happened. They were first approached when these Secret Service employees were first approached. These people were trying to get in their favor with gifts and trying to find out about the intricacies of what they did. They should have reported that immediately, and it should have gone up the chain, and it should have been stopped before it ever started.
So you have that. Do they issue polygraph examinations for people at Secret Service? I mean, they should be doing that on the regular, right?
Correct. Well, it is right now. It is part of the pre-employment process, and then if you're involved in an investigation,
they're going to have to submit the polys after this for sure. What do you think these foreign agents were after? Was this possibly foreign intelligence gathering plot, or were they maybe looking to possibly assassinate VIPs here?
Well, it could have gone either way, and that's what's the scariest part, is that we don't know where this was going. So it could have been something that they did want to gain access to the persons the Secret Service protects in order to commit an assassination, or they could have gotten to the point with these people where they made them an asset, even gave them a thumb drive and said, hey, put this into a computer on the Secret Service network or the White House network, and they would have had access to all the Secret Service cameras and alarms, possibly to shut them down and create some kind of organized attack.
We actually don't even know if one of the agents was compromised in the way you described it, so that's pretty scary. Are we going to have the Secret Service director fired?
You know, I don't believe so. The Secret Service is still a remarkably filled with integrity. Everybody there is laser focused on a mission and laser focused on on what's right in front of them. I really think that this is an outlier. I know the men and women that I worked with are certainly brokenhearted about this and hurt that it happened.
Okay, well, not as laser focused as they need to be, but they have some cleaning up to do, that's for sure. Hopefully it didn't get any farther than what's been reported. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Like CEOs of companies and so on, establish a vision, a clear vision, and like hit that hard. But the way you establish the vision isn't just like, not to dig at Joe Biden, but like sleepy, boring statements. You have to sell those statements, and you have to do it in a way where everybody's paying attention, everybody's excited. That Teddy Roosevelt is definitely one of them. Obama was, I think, at least early on, I don't know, was incredible at that. it does feel that the modern political landscape makes it more difficult to be inspirational in a sense, because everything becomes bickering and division. I do want to ask you, please, about Trump. So you're now a successful podcaster. I've talked to Joe about Trump, Joe Rogan, and Joe's not interested in talking to Trump. It's just fascinating. I try to dig into like why.
Yeah.
What would you interview Trump on, like Realignment, for example? And do you think it's possible to do a 2-3 hour conversation with him where you will get at something like human, or you get at something like we were talking about the facade he puts forward? Do you think you could get past that?
No, I don't. I was a White House correspondent. I observed this man very closely. I interviewed him. I think if that mic is hot, he knows what he's doing. He's done this too long, Lex. He just knows.
But do you think he's a different human now after the election? Do you think that?
No. I think he's been the same person since 1976. I really do. Basically, 1976. I studied Trump a lot, and I think he's basically been the core of who he is, and elements of that ever since he built that, the ice rink in Central Park and got that media attention. That was it.
Yeah, he's a fascinating study. I feel there's a hope in me that there would be a podcast like a Joe Rogan, like a long form podcast where something could be, and you're actually a really good person to do that, where you can have a real conversation that looks back at the election and reveals something honest. But perhaps he's thinking about running again, and so maybe he'll never let down that guard.
Yes.
But I just love it when there's this switch in people where you start looking back at your life and wanting to tell stories, trying to extract wisdom and realizing you're in this new phase of life where the battles have all been fought. Now you're this old former warrior, and now you can tell the stories of that time. And
you gotta be kidding me, dude.
Trump's still at it like the young warrior he is. He's not in the mode of telling stories.
You know what I got from Rogan? He's the only president who didn't age well in office. It's true, right? And this is what I mean, because he lives in the moment. The job actually aged Obama. I mean Bush, same thing. Even Clinton. Clinton was fat.
Yeah.
He looked miserable by 2000. HW, Reagan, famous. Actually, yeah, pretty much.
If this is the case, then Preston can fuck off. I hate him anyway.
Including John F. Kennedy, who got much sicker while in office. The job, weighs
I'm not
on
gonna
you,
go back
makes
for
you physically
fucking
ill.
4 levels just so
He's
one
the only
guy
person
can
who
me.
doesn't happen to.
What the fuck is the point of that?
Stronger, and he was one of the most divisive. The climate. There's so many people attacking him. So much hatred.
Let's go.
Love and hatred, and it was just whatever it was.
Why did I have to give up good loot just so someone can
If we
what the fuck?
If we stick on Hitler.
No.
What lessons do you take from that time? Do you think it's a unique moment in human history? That World War II. I mean, both Stalin and Hitler. Is it something that's just an outlier in all of human history in terms of the atrocities, or is there the lessons to be learned? You mentioned offline that you're not just a student of the entirety of the history, but you're also fascinated by just different policies and stuff. What's the immigration policy? What's the policy on science? And
look, Third Reich in Power. Let me plug it by Richard Evans. I think is what it was, because that actually will tell you what was it like to.
Why can't I get anywhere in this game without bullshit happening?
Yeah, it's a hard question.
I just want to explore someplace successfully and not have any repercussions for that. Can that be possible with this game? I don't know. We're gonna find out.
I kind of think of it within Mao, Stalin, and Hitler as
I didn't know killing them would make that guy hate me.
The end
what the fuck, game? How does that even connect? They're not related at all.
System that evolved.
It's whatever.
Basically 1400 and more. I basically think that 1400, the wars between the state.
I just don't understand why this game does that bullshit sometimes. It's fucking annoying.
Serfdom within
Each
Russia,
and every
the Russian
time it
Revolution,
happens. Like, I
with
just wanted
Stalin,
to enjoy.
Same thing, the Kaiser and Imperial Germany, and this like incredibly crazy system of balance of power in World War I. And then same thing within China in terms of the warring states, and then the disintegration, the European, how this is how they think of it, which is like the century of humiliation, and they had to have something like this. I try to think of it within the context of that. I don't want to sound like an inevitabilist, but I think of it as, I like to think about systems, especially here in DC, that's when I got into politics, which is that you have to understand systems of power and the incentives within systems and the disincentives, the downside risk of what you're creating, because that is what leads and creates the behavior within that system. I was just talking to my girlfriend about this yesterday. It's kind of funny, like, I read these, I'm obsessed with these books by Robert Caro, the biographies of Lyndon Johnson. He's written like 5,000 pages so far, and it's still not done. Okay, so like these are like books I base my life on. And look, these are Washington and the stories of the post-New Deal era and forward. Not much has changed. Like, the Senate is still the Senate. So many of the same problems with the Senate are
You
still
can go then.
in
You
some
can go.
cases. No, not anymore. And for a while, some of the people who were there with Johnson were actually still. One of them is the President of the United States, just a joke. And you think about, also, same with the media relationship, right? Like, there's this media, like, they may have come and gone. Like, the people who were in the media and who were cozy with the administration officials, I mean, they just recreated themselves. It's like an ecosystem which doesn't change. And that's why I'm like, oh, it's not that was a specific time. That's just DC. Like, that is DC because of the way the system is architected. It's pretty much been that way since, like, 1908, whenever, like, Teddy Roosevelt was dining with these journalists, and he would yell at them, and then he would go over to the Society House, and, like, in many ways, that's now, instead of going to Henry Adams' house, like, the people are congregating in Calorama, which is the richest neighborhood here, at somebody else's house. Like, it's the same thing. So you have to think about the system and then the incentives within that system, about what the outcomes that they're producing, if you actually want to think about how can I change this from the outside. That's also why it's very difficult to change, because the system is designed in order to produce actually pretty specific outcomes that can only be changed in extraordinary ways.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to predict what kind of outcomes will result from the system that you create, right? Because especially in novel situations with trying to create a pretty novel situation, and a lot of things that we've seen in the 20th century were very novel systems. People were very optimistic about the outcomes, right? And it turned out to not have the results that they predicted. In terms of like change from can you like Wikipedia style like musical form harmony and describe to me?
Yeah, I don't think that's right.
I don't know. How does this whole thing work? How does three branches? How do you think what we have now? If you were trying to describe aliens showed up, asked you, they didn't have time, should we just throw you as you please to avoid destruction? How would you
I would say we come together and we pick the people who make our laws. Then we pick the guy who executes those laws. And they together pick the people who determine whether they or the president is breaking the law. That's how it works. So that's the people who make the laws. The executive is charged with executing the laws as passed by Congress, the branches of government. And the Supreme Court is picked by the President, by the Senate, who then decides whether you or other people are breaking the law in terms of interpreting decide whether those laws are they fall within the restrictions and the want of the founders as expressed by the Constitution of the United States, which is a set of principles that we came together in 1787. I want to make sure I get this right. 1787, and decided that we were going to live the rest of our lives barring a revolution. And we made it 200 something years in order under that system.
So there's a balance of power because we're branching attention and power to it as designed by the original document. Which is the most dysfunctional, which is your favorite. In terms of systems, concern is the source of benefit.
Well, the presidency is my favorite study, obviously, because it is one where there's subject to variable change in terms of the personality involved, because of so much power imbued within the executive. The Senate is actually pretty much the same. One of the things I love about reading about the Senate is you're like, oh yeah, there were always like assholes and who were doing their thing and filibustering constantly based upon this or that, and then the personalities involved with the Senate haven't mattered as much since like pre-Civil War. Like pre-Civil War, you can play Daniel Webster and John C. Calhoun, who even in one way they represented like our constituency. They crafted these like compromises up until the outbreak of the Civil War, etc. But like since then, you don't think about this heightened Senate. Most of that is because a lot of the stuff that they had power over is transferred over to the executive. So I'm most interested in really in like power, like where it lies. It's actually pretty, throughout American history, much more used to lie with Congress. Now it's obviously just so imbued with the executive that understanding executive power is, I think, the thing I'm probably most interested in.
Do you think at this point the amount of power that the president has is corrupting to their ability to lead well? This is power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Is there too much power in the presidency?
There definitely is, and part of the problem, and one of the things I try to come across to people is, if you're the president, unless you have a hyper-intentional view of how something must be different in government.
Oh my god.
So, for example, if you were...
This guy is out for revenge. I don't know what I did to him.
He was like, I'm gonna end Afghanistan and Iraq, right? He came in against these generals. I want to end the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Oh, and I want to withdraw these troops. And they're like, okay, we'll give you like 6 months. He's like, okay. And this is the thing about Trump. He doesn't realize that it's money. And so they're like, he's like, good, 6 months. Right? So 6 months comes. And he's like, and then he'll announce, he's like, and we're getting out of Syria. It's great. And then the generals freak out. They're like, whoa, we don't have a plan for that. He's like, but you guys told me 6 months. He's like, yeah, 6 months. And by that time, it's not a midterm. So now you gotta run for reelection. So what I mean by that is, if you don't have a hyper-intentional view about how to change foreign policy, if you don't have a hyper-intentional view about how the Department of Commerce should do its job, they are just gonna go on. So this is part of the problem. When you ask me about the presidency, the president himself, which has become too powerful, it's that we have less democratic checks on the people and the systems that are on autopilot. And I would say that basically since 2008, we have voted every single time to disrupt that system, except in the case of 2020 with Joe Biden, and there are a lot of things around that happened. And in every single one of those cases, Obama and Trump, they all failed in order to radically disrupt that. And that just shows you how titanic the fact is. And I'm using my language precisely because I don't want to be like deep state. I'll look like
Deep state, I guess, has the interest to it. But so what you're saying is the power currently lies with decade deep state.
Well, but see, this is the thing too. I want to make it clear because I think people think conspiratorially that they're all coming together to intentionally do something. They are doing what they know be during the Ukraine, gate with Trump and all that, with the impeachment. I'm not talking about the politics here, but the most revealing thing that happened was when the whistleblower guy, Alexander Vindman, was like, here you have the president departing from the policy of the United States. And I was like, well, let me educate you, Lieutenant Colonel. The President of the United States makes American foreign policy. But it was a very revealing comment, because he and all the people within national security bureaucracy do think that. They're like, this is the policy of the United States. We have to do this. That's where things get screwed.
Well, listen, for me personally, but also from an engineering perspective, I just talked to Jim Keller. It's just, this is the kind of bullshit that we all hate in when you're trying to innovate and design new products.
Right.
So that's what first principles thinking requires. It's like, we don't give a shit what was done before. The point is, what is the best way to do it? And it seems like the current government in general, probably bureaucracies in general, are just really good at being lazy about never having those conversations, and just it becomes this momentum thing that nobody has the difficult conversations. It's become a game within a certain set of constraints, and they never kind of do revolutionary tasks. But you did say that the presidency is power, but you're saying that more power than the others, but that power has to be coupled with focused intentionality. Like, you have to keep hammering the thing.
If you want it done, it has to be done. I mean, and you gotta, this is the other part too, which is that it's not just that you have to get it done, you have to pick the 100 people who you can trust to pick 10 people each to actually do what you want. One of the most revealing quotes is from a guy named Tommy Corcoran. He was the top aide to FDR. This I'm getting from the Kara books too. And he said, what is a government? It's not just one guy or even 10 guys. Hell, it's 1,000 guys. Yeah. And what FDR did is he masterfully picked the right people to execute his will through the federal agencies. Johnson, same way. He played these people like a fiddle. He knew exactly who to pick, he knew the system, and more. Part of the reason that outsiders who don't have a lot of experience in Washington almost always fail is they don't know who to pick. Or they pick people who say one thing to their face, and then when it comes time to carry out the president's policy in terms of the government, they just don't do it. And the president's too. Think about this. I think Rahm Emanuel said this. He was like, by the time it gets to the president's desk, nobody else can solve it. It's not easy. It's not like a yes or a no question. It's every single thing that hits the president's desk is incredibly hard to do. And Obama actually even said, and this was a very revealing quote about how he thinks about the presidency, which is, he's like, look, the presidency is like one of those super tankers. He's like, I can come in and I can take it 2 degrees left and 2 degrees right. In 100 years, 2 degrees left, that's a whole different trajectory.
Yeah.
Same thing on the right. And he's like, that ultimately is really all you can do. I quibble and disagree with that in terms of how he could have changed things in 2008, but there's a lot of truth to that.
Okay, that's really fascinating. You make me realize that actually both Obama and Trump are probably playing victim here to the system. You're making me think that, maybe you can correct me, that, because I'm thinking of Elon Musk, whose major success despite everything is hiring the right people.
Exactly.
And creating those thousands, that structure of 1,000 people. So maybe a president has power in that if they were exceptionally good at hiring the right people.
Personnel policy. That's what it is.
But would you be able to steer the ship way more than 2 degrees if you hire the right people? So it's almost like Obama was not good at hiring the right people.
Well, he hired all the Clinton people. Yeah, that's what happened. What happened with Trump? He hired all the Bush people.
And then you just sit back and say, oh, president can't, but that means you're just suck at hiring.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, look, I know it's funny. I'm giving you simultaneously the nationalist case against Trump and the progressive case against Obama. Yes. The progressive people were like, why the fuck are you hiring all these Clinton people in order to run the government and just recreate? Like, why are you hiring Larry Summers, who was one of the people who worked at all these banks and didn't believe that bailouts were going to be big enough? And then to come in the worst economic crisis in modern American history. That was 2008, and Summers actively lobbied against larger bailouts, which had huge implications for working class people and pretty much hollowed out America since. Okay, from Trump, same thing. You're like, I'm going to drain the swamp. And by doing that, I'm going to hire Goldman Sachs' Gary Cohn and Steve Mnuchin and all these other absolute Bush clowns in order to run my White House.
I already moved you,
no
dude.
shit.
What do you want?
The only thing that you accomplished in your 4 years in office is passing a massive tax cut for the rich and for corporations. I wonder how that happened.
What role?
Oh my god, you have to be kidding
This is
me.
money, huge influence in politics, super PACs, all that kind of stuff, or is this more just kind of a narrative that we play with? Because from the outside,
You're not here anymore, dude. Get out of here.
That seems to be one of the fundamental problems.
I really don't know what your problem is. Why can't you just fucking go?
And it's funny because if you do
I'm tired of dealing with this shit. I just wanted the shit that I rated. Get out.
As in, it's never been more transparent. Never been more up to the FEC, and all of that. If you go back and read
I moved you.
years ago, talking about Lyndon B. Johnson handing people, like literally, he came up in his youth, paying people for votes, like the boss of the person who like had all the Mexican votes, like the person who had, and he was like giving out briefcases. This is like within people. That doesn't happen anymore. But I don't like to blame everything on people. I do think money is obviously a huge part of the problem. I actually look at it in terms of distribution, which is that how is money distributed within our society?
I just want this guy out of my area.
Politics,
I literally already fucking moved him.
But I think politics is mostly downstream.
I don't know why he's being like this, but I fucking hate it. I don't care about
it. In terms of the equitable or lack of equitable distribution of money within our politics, what we're really pissed off about is like our politics only seems to work for the people who have money. I think that's largely true. I think that the reason why things worked differently in the past is because our economy was structured in different ways, and there's a reason that our politics today are very analogous to the last Gilded Age, because we had very similar levels of economic distribution and cultural problems at the same time. I don't want to face that, because I actually think that was driving.
So that's interesting. So, see, so in that sense, representative government is doing a pretty good job of representing the state of culture and the people and so on. Yeah. Can I ask you, in terms of the deep state, conspiracy theories, there's a lot of talk about, again, from an outsider's perspective, if I were just looking at Twitter, it seems that at least 90% of people in government are pedophiles. 95%, I'm not sure what that number is. If I were to just look at Twitter, obviously, or YouTube, I would think most of the world is pedophile. I would almost feel like...
Right. And if you don't fully believe that, you're... yeah.
I would start to wonder, like, wait, what? Am I a pedophile too? Like, I'm either a communist or a pedophile, or both, I guess. Yeah, that's going to be clipped out. Thank you, Internet. I look forward to your emails. But is there any kind of shadow conspiracy theories that give you pause? Or sort of the flip side, the response to a lot of conspiracy theories is like, no, the reason this happened is because it's a combination of just incompetence. So where do you land on some of these conspiracy theories?
I think most conspiracy theories are wrong. Some are true, and those are spectacular. And if that makes sense.
Yeah. And we don't know which ones.
I don't know which ones.
That's the problem.
I think, look, man, I listen to your podcast. I think I was a huge non-believer in UFOs, and now I probably never believe more in UFOs. Like, I believe in UFOs. I'm very comfortable being like, not only do I believe in UFOs, like, I think we're probably being visited by an alien civilization. Yeah. Like, and if you asked me that 3 years ago, I would have been like, you're out of your fucking mind. Like, what are you talking about? Well, listen to David Fravor. That's all I have to say. That's it.
Oh, well, I have the sense that the government has information, hasn't revealed, but it's not like I don't think they're holding, there's like a green guy sitting there in a
exactly.
Room. They have seen things they don't know what to do with. So it's just like,
they're afraid of revealing because they don't know. That's what I think.
Right. It's revealing exactly what they don't know. in the process, there's a lot of fears tied up in that. First, locating confidence in the public eye. Nobody wants to look that way. And the other is like, in revealing, even though they don't know, maybe China will figure it out.
Exactly.
So, like, we don't want China to figure it out first. And so that, all those kinds of things result in basically secrecy, then that damages the trust in institutions. On one of the most fascinating aspects, like, one of the most fascinating mysteries of humankind of, is there life, intelligent life out there in the universe? So that's one of them. But there's other ones, like, for me, when I first came across, actually, Alex Jones, was 9/11.
Yeah.
I remember, like, because I was in Chicago. I was thinking, like, oh shit, are they going to hit Chicago too?
That's what everybody was thinking.
Yeah, everybody was thinking, like, what does this mean? At what scale? Trying to interpret it. And I remember, like, looking for information. That's like, what happened? And I remember not being satisfied with the quality of reporting and figuring out, like, rigorous, like, here's exactly what happened. And so people like Alex Jones stepped up, and others that said, like, there's some shady shit going on. And it sure as hell looked like there's shady shit going on.
Yes.
So, like, and I still stand behind the fact that it seems like there's not enough, like, it wasn't a good job of being honest and transparent and all those kinds of things.
Because it would implicate the Saudis, let's be honest, right? And see, that's my conspiracy theory. So I'm like, yeah, I think they covered up a lot of stuff because they wanted to cover up for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Like, and I mean, that was a conspiracy theory not that long ago. I think it's true. I think it's 100% true.
Yeah, so those kinds of conspiracy theories are interesting. I mean, there's other ones for me personally that touched sort of the institution that means a lot to me is the MIT and Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, I want to hear a lot more. I want to hear about that. I talk about Epstein a lot, so I'm like,
oh, you do?
Yeah,
okay.
and he, I was going to say, in terms of conspiracy theory, that one changed my outlook because I was like, whoa, like, you have this dude who convinced some of the most successful people on Earth that he was like some money manager, and it looks like it was totally fake. Like Leon Black. I mean, this is one of the richest men on Wall Street, $9 billion net worth. Why is he giving him over $100 million between 2015 and 2019?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Lex Wexner, same thing. So yeah, I want to hear, because you know people who met him, and the only person I know who met him was Eric Weinstein.
Oh boy. So I'm still with Eric is fascinating. Like, Eric is full on saying that there's a front for something much bigger. And there's whatever his name, Robert Maxwell.
He still comes back after I push him all this way. I'm gonna be mind-blown. I'm gonna fucking drown this kid.
The tip of the iceberg. I just think he's exceptionally charismatic. Listen, this isn't speaking from confidence or like deep understanding of the situation, but from my speaking with people, he just seems like, at least inside of his influence and interaction with researchers, he just seems like somebody that's exceptionally charismatic and actually took interest. He was unable to speak about interesting scientific things, but he took interest in them. So he knew how to stroke the egos of a lot of powerful people, like in different kinds of ways. And I suppose I don't know about this because I don't have, like, if it really, okay, this is weird to say, but I have an ability. Okay, I think women are beautiful. I like women, but like if like a supermodel came to me or something, like I'm able to reason. It's like some people are not able to think clearly when there's like an attractive woman. And I think that was one of the tools he used to manipulate people. I don't know. It's like the pedophile thing, right? I don't know how many people are convinced sex addicts, but like it seems like looking out into the world, like there's like the Me Too movement have revealed that there's a lot of like weird, like creepy people out there. I don't know, but I think it was just one of the many tools that he used to convince people and manipulate people, but not in some like evil way, but more just really good art of conversation and just winning people over. on the side. And then by building that process, building enough other really powerful people, and not explicitly, but implicitly having done shady shit, powerful people, like building up a kind of implied power of like we did some shady shit together. So we're not like, you're gonna help me out on this extra thing I need right now, and that builds and builds and builds to where you're able to actually control, like have quite a lot of power without explicitly having like a strategy meeting. And I think a single person could do that, or could start that ball rolling, and over time it becomes a group thing. Like, I don't know if Ghislaine Maxwell was involved or others, and yeah, over time it becomes almost like a really powerful organization that's not a front for something much deeper and bigger, but it's almost like, maybe it's because I love cellular automaton, man. A system that starts out as a simple thing with simple rules can create incredible complexity. Yes. And so I just think that we're now looking in retrospect. It looks like an incredibly complex system that's operating, but like that's just because it's, there could have been a lot of other Jeffrey Epsteins. In my perspective, that this simple thing just was successful early on. It builds and builds and builds and builds, and then there's creepy shit that, like, a lot of aspects of the system helped it get bigger and bigger and more powerful and so on. So the final result is...
He's gone.
Listen,
Holy shit.
I tend to see the good in people, and so it's been heartbreaking to me in general just to see...
I can't believe he's fucking gone.
People I look up to not have the level of integrity I thought they would, or like the strength of character, all those kinds of things. And it seems like...
Fuck you, Preston Gravy.
That's
how we do it here.
We're not talking about like Eric Weinstein, like 1 or 2 or 3 or 5.
Let's carry on with this motherfucking
like,
game.
People that had like years of relationship
and keep my goddamn loot.
I don't know.
That I deserve.
Even after he was convicted.
After he was convicted.
That guy always gets me.
Yeah, there's stories. I mean, I don't need to sort of... I honestly believe... Okay, here's the open question I have. I don't know how many creepy sexual people there are out there. Like, I don't know if there's, like the people I know, faculty and so on, I don't know if they have, like, a kink that I'm just not aware of that was being leveraged. Because, to me, it seems like if people aren't... If not everybody's a pedophile, then it's just the art of conversation. That is just like the art of just like manipulating people by making them feel good about like the exciting stuff they're doing. Listen, man, see, like when you meet them, right? 5 interactions, but like just people that had like years of relationship with them. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm not sure.
Even after he was convicted.
After he was convicted,
that guy always gets me.
Yeah, there's stories. I mean, I don't need to sort of... I honestly believe... Okay, here's the open question I have. I don't know how many creepy sexual people there are out there. Like, I don't know if there's, like the people I know, faculty and so on, I don't know if they have, like, a kink that I'm just not aware of that was being leveraged. Because... to me, it seems like if people aren't... If not everybody's a pedophile, then it's just the art of conversation. That is just like the art of just like manipulating people by making them feel good about like the exciting stuff they're doing. Listen, man, academics are... People talk about money. I don't think academics care about money as much as people think. What they care about is like somebody... They want to be... it's the same thing that Instagram models posting their butt pictures. Is they want to be loved. They want attention.
My parents are professors.
Get that
and Jeffrey Epstein, like the money is another way to show attention. My work matters, and he he did that for some of the weirdest, most brilliant people. I don't want to sort of drop names, but everybody knows
I'd like to
them.
trade some
It's
items.
like people that are the most interesting academics is the one he cared about. Like people are thinking about the most difficult questions in all of science and all of engineering. So those people were kind of outcasts in academia a little bit because they're doing the weird shit. They're the weirdos, and he cared about the weirdos, and he gave them money, and that, that's. I don't know if there's something more nefarious than that. I hope not, but maybe I'm surprised. And in fact, half the population of the world is pedophiles.
No, I think it's what you were talking about, which is that it's the implication after the initial, right? Like you do some shady things together, or you do something that you want out of the public eye. You're a public person, and look, we probably even experience this to a limited extent, right? You're like, I don't know, I almost lost my temper, one time whenever a car hit me, and I'm like, I can't freak out in public anymore. Like what if somebody takes a photo or something?
Yeah.
And so I think that there's an extent to that times a billion, literally, when you have $1 billion or more. And you take that all together and you stack it up on itself. I saw a story about, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was with Epstein, or with Ghislaine Maxwell, in a private air terminal or something. And she had one of their, sex, one of those girls who was underage, had her dressed up in a literal, pilot uniform. And she was underage in order to, and she was being disguised for being older. And she was a masseuse, right? Because that was one of the guises which they got in order to sexually traffic these women. And she was Bill was complaining about his neck, and she's like, give Bill Clinton a massage, right? So now there's a photo of an underage girl giving a massage to the former president of the United States. I don't think he knew, right? But that looks bad. And so this is kind of what we're getting at, which is that you're setting it all up and creating those preconditions. Or like Prince Andrew. Do I think Prince Andrew knew that Virginia Giuffre was underage? I don't know. Probably knew she was pretty young, which I think is, skeevy enough where if you're a fucking prince, you should probably know better.
Yeah.
But I don't think he knew she was underage. Or maybe he did, and if he did, then he's even more of a piece of shit than I thought. But when we look at these things, the stuff I'm more interested in is what you were talking about. I'm like, Bill Gates? How do you get the richest man in the world in your house?
Yeah.
Under what God? And Gates is he was talking about financing and all this. I'm like, you don't have access to money or bankers? You're the richest man in the world. You can call Goldman Sachs anytime you want on a hotline. Why do you need? That's where I start again to get more conspiratorial, because I'm like, Bill, dude, you have the gold credit, right? You don't need Epstein to create some complicated financing structure. Or Leon Black, what is 2015, 2009? I mean, this is very recent stuff. Or, and this is the part that really got me, is I read the I think it's called the Department of Financial Services report around Deutsche Bank with Epstein. They knew he was a criminal. They solicited his business, explicitly knew that his business meant access to other high net worth individuals, consistently doled money out from his account for hush payments to women in Europe and prostitution rings. They knew all of this within the bank. It was elevated multiple times. Here's the other one. One of Epstein's associates was like, hey, how much money can we take out before we hit the automatic censor, before you have to tell the IRS? And that question, by their own standards, is supposed to result in a notification to the feds, and they never did it. And he was withdrawing $2 million in cash in 5 years for tips. And I'm like, okay. Something's going on here. You see what I'm saying?
There's a lot of signs that make you think that there's a bigger thing at play than just a man. That there is it does look like a larger organization is using this front, right?
Again, I don't know. I truly don't know. And I'm not willing to use the certainty, which I think a lot of people online are, to say it was 100%.
Yes, the certainty is always the problem, because that's probably why I hesitate to touch conspiracy theories, is because I'm allergic to certainty in all forms. In politics, any kind of discourse, and people are so sure, in both directions, actually. It's kind of hilarious. Either they're sure that the conspiracy theory, in particular, whatever the conspiracy theory is false. They almost dismiss it they don't even want to talk about it. It's the people, the way they dismiss that the Earth is flat.
Yes.
Most scientists are like, they don't even want to like hear what the flat earthers are saying. They don't have like zero patience for it, which is like maybe in that case, yeah, it's deserved. But everything else, you really like have empathy. Like consider the fact you have like. This is weird to say, but I feel like you have to consider that the Earth might be flat for like 1 minute. Like you have to be empathetic. You have to be open-minded.
I don't see a lot of that through our cultural tastemakers anymore, and that really is what concerns me the most, because it's just another manifestation of all of our problems. Is that we have this completely bifurcating economy, bifurcating culture, literally in terms of we have the middle of the country and then we have the coast, and in terms of the population, it's almost 50-50. And with increasing megacities and urban culture, like urban monoculture of LA, New York, and Chicago, and DC, and Boston, and Austin, relative to how an entire other group of Americans live their lives, or even the people within them who aren't rich and upwardly mobile, how they live their lives is just completely separating. And all of our language and communication in mass media and more is to the top, and then everybody else is forgotten.
Do you think when you dig to the core, there's a big gap between left and right? Is that division that's perceived currently real, or are most people center left and center right?
It's so interesting because
This
that's such
is
a
Radio
loaded term.
Freedom,
Center
broadcasting
left.
all day,
What does that
all
mean?
across the
Like,
Commonwealth.
to you,
Nothing
I
to
think
report
the
at the
way you're
moment.
thinking of
Stay
it
tuned
is,
for updates.
I'm not like even this, like, I'm not a radical socialist, but I'm marginally left on cultural issues and economic issues. This is how we've traditionally understood things. And then when in popular discourse, like center right, like what does it mean to be center right? Like I am marginally right on social issues and marginally right on economic issues. But that's just not politics. Like if you look at survey data, for example, like stimulus checks, people who are against stimulus checks are conservative, right? Well, 80% of the population is for a stimulus check. So that means a sizable number of Republicans.
You here visiting Covenant, pal?
Same thing happens
Not,
on like a wealth tax.
I'd like to visit. Since
Same
we don't
thing
just
happens on Florida.
Interesting idea.
Voted for Trump.
You know what? You want to take the
3.1%.
test?
More than
Sure.
Barack
Good.
Obama in
Take it.
2008. On the same day, passes a $15 minimum wage at 67%. Okay. So what's going on? So that's why
What is going on?
Well, that's what
That's my secret.
But
Once you
it's
sit on
just
the other
like,
side of the desk,
that's not the conversation.
Hey, Swanson, better watch yourself
It's different
around
than
here.
policies.
Raiders and worse have been known to visit.
That's
All quiet, which is how we like it. Stay safe out there, people.
Hey, stranger. Better watch yourself around here. Raiders and worse have been known to visit.
Nothing to report. Keep it tuned here for updates. PM out there. All quiet, which is how we like it. Stay safe out there, people.
is that the way we have to understand American politics today, it didn't always used to be this way, is it's almost entirely along basic. I would say the main divider is, because even when you talk about class, this misses it in terms of socioeconomics. It's around culture, which is that it's basically, if you went to a 4-year degree granting institution, you are part of one culture. If you didn't, you're part of another. I don't want to erase the 20% or whatever people who did go to a college degree who were Republicans, or vice versa, etc. But I'm saying on average, in terms of the median way that you feel, we're basically bifurcating along those lines. And because people get upset, be like, oh, well, there are rich people who voted for Trump. And I'm like, yeah, but you know who they are? They're like plumbers or something. Like, they're people who make $100,000 a year, but they didn't go to a 4-year college degree, and they might live in a place which is not an urban metro area. And then at the same time, you have, like, a Vox writer who makes, like, 30 grand, but they have a lot more cultural power than, like, a plumber. So you have to think about where exactly that line is. And I think, in general, that's the way that we're trending. So that's why when I say, like, what's going on, are we divided? Yeah, like, but it's not left and right. I mean, like, and that's why I hate these labels.
So it's more just red or blue, like teams. They're arbitrary teams.
Yeah.
Are they? So how arbitrary are these teams? I guess is another.
Completely arbitrary.
So well, you kind of imply that there's. I don't know if they're sort of in post analyzing the patterns, because it seems like there's a network effects of, like, you just pick the team red or blue, and it might have to do with college, it might have to do with all those things, but, like, it seems like it's more about just the people around you. So less than whether you went to college or not. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like like network effects that are hard. There's certain strong patterns in your identity. I don't know. They have nothing to do with what you actually believe.
Well, it is, Lex. Look, I mean, I don't want to believe that, but the data points me to that, especially 2020. I'm one of the people, chief among them, I will own up to it here, I was totally wrong about why Trump was elected in 2016. I believe, and based a lot of my public commentary belief on this, Trump was elected rejection Hillary Clinton neoliberalism on the back message. Anti-liberation was its pillar, but alongside of it was rejection of free trade with China and generally of the political correctness of globalism, which has basically come in through the uniparty, and same thing here with the military-industrial complex and endless war. He rejected all of that.
The voice of the Minuteman.
It's wrong, man. And the reason I know this is that it sounds right. I honestly wish it was true. But here's the truth. Trump actually governed largely as a neoliberal Republican who was meaner and departed from orthodoxy in some very important ways. Don't get me wrong. I will always support the trade war with China. I will always support not expanding the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. I will support him moving the Overton window on a million different things and revealing once and for all that GOP voters don't care about economic orthodoxy necessarily. But here's what they do care about. Trump got more votes in 2020 than he did in 2016, despite not delivering largely for all the Trump people out on that agenda. He wasn't more pro-union, but he won more union votes. He wasn't necessarily more pro-worker, but he actually won more votes in Ohio than he did in 2016. And he won more Hispanic votes than despite being, all the immigration agenda, rhetoric, etc. Here's why. It's about the culture, which is that the culture war is so hot that negative partisanship is at such high levels, all of the vote is geared upon what the other guy might do in office. And there's a poll actually just came out by Echelon Insights. Crystal and I were talking about it on Rising. The number one concern amongst Democratic voters is Trump voters. Number one concern. Not issues like Trump voters. And number two is white supremacy. And so, we just basically code for Trump voters.
And is the same true for the other side?
Well, so on the right, the number one concern is illegal immigration. And number, I think, 3 or 4 or whatever is Antifa, which is code for
the right is policy.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I saw Ben Shapiro was talking about this, but the reason why I would functionally say it's the same is because I mean, you can believe whether this is true or not. I think it actually functionally is true, but like, a lot of GOP voters feel like a lot of illegal immigration is cool for like people who are coming in who are going to be legalized who are going to vote down. Like, I can just explain it from their point of view. So like, what does that actually mean? Each other, like, and each other, which is that the number one concern is the other person. So negative partisanship has never been higher. And I think people who had my thesis in terms of why Trump was elected in 2016, you have to grapple with this. Like, how did he win 10 million more votes? He came 44,000 votes away from winning the presidency across 3 states. Like, none of our popular discourse reflects that very stark reality. And I think so much of it is people really hate liberals. Like, they just really hate. And I was driving through rural Nevada before the election, and I was like, literally in the middle of nowhere. And there was this massive sign this guy had out in front of his house, and it just said Trump, : fuck liberals. And I was like, that's it. That is why people voted for Trump. I mean, I don't want to denigrate it, because they truly feel they have no cultural power in America except to raise the middle finger to the elite class by pressing the button for Trump. I get that. That's actually a totally rational way to vote. It's not the way I wish you did vote, but like, that's not my place to say.
So, yeah, this is interesting. If you could psychoanalyze, I'm, again, probably naive about this, but I'm really bothered by the hatred of liberals. It's this amorphous monster that's mocked. It's like the Shapiro liberal tears. And I'm also really bothered by probably more of my colleagues and friends, the hatred of Trump. The Trump and white supremacists. So apparently there's 70 million white supremacists, 75 million, sorry. There's millions of white supremacists. And apparently whatever liberal is, I mean, literally liberal has become equivalent to white supremacists in the power of negativity and arousal. I don't even know what those, I mean, honestly, I just don't even think it becomes swears, essentially. How do we get out of this? Because that's why I just don't even say anything about politics online, because it's like, really? Like, you can't, here's what happens. Anything you say that's like thoughtful, like, I wonder if immigration. I wonder, like, why we allow these many immigrants in. Like, some version of that, like, thinking through these difficult policies, that they immediately try to find a single word in something you say that can put you in a bin of liberal or white supremacist, and then hammer you to death by saying you're one of the two, and then everybody just piles on happily that we finally nailed this white supremacist or liberal. And is this some kind of weird, like, feature of online communication that we've just stumbled upon? Is there a way, or is it possible to argue that this is like a feature, not a bug? Like, this is a good thing?
Yeah, well, look, I just think it's a reflection of who we are. People like to blame social media. I think we're just incredibly divided right now. I think we've been divided like this for the last 20 years, and I think that the reason I focus almost 99% of my public commentary on economics is because you asked an important question at the top. How do we fix this? What did I say about the stimulus checks? Stimulus checks have 80% approval rating. So that's the type of thing, if I was Joe Biden and I wanted to actually heal this country, that's the very first thing I would have done when I came into office. Same thing on when you look at anything that's going to increase wages. I said on the show, I was like, look, I think Joe Biden will have an 80% approval rating if he does 2 things. If he gives every American a $2,000 stimulus check and gives everybody who wants a vaccine. That's it. It's pretty simple. Because here's the thing. I don't really like Greg Abbott that much. We have like very different politics. I'm from Texas. But my parents got vaccinated really quickly. That means something. I'm like, listen, I don't really care about a lot of the other stuff. he got my family vaccinated. Like that, well, I will forever remember that. And that's how we remember the checks. This is a part of the reason why Trump almost won the election. And why, if the Republicans had been smart enough to give him another round of checks, 100% would won. Which is that people were like, look, I don't really like Trump, but I got a check with his name on it. And that meant something to me and my family. I'm not saying for all the libertarians out there that you should go and like endlessly spend money and buy votes. What I am saying is lean into the majoritarian position without adding your culture war bullshit on top of it.
Yeah.
So, for example, what's the number one concern that AOC says after the first round of checks got out? Oh, the checks didn't go to illegal immigrants. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, this is the most popular policy America has probably done in 50 years. You know, since like Medicare. And you're inserting that, you're ruining it.
Yeah.
And then on the right is the same thing, which is that they'll be like, these checks are going to like, you know, low level, blah, blah, you know, people who are lazy and don't work. I'm like, oh, there you go, you know, like you're just playing a caricature of what you are like. If you lean into those issues, and you got to do it clean. This is what everybody hates about DC, which is that Biden right now is doing the $1,400 checks, but he's looping it in with his COVID relief bill and all that. That's his prerogative. That's the Democrats' prerogative. They won the election. That's fine. But I'll tell you what I would have. I would have come in and I would have said there's 5 United States senators who are on the record, Republicans, who said they'll vote for a $2,000 check, and I would have put that on the floor of the United States Senate, like the first day possible, and I would have passed it, and I would have forced those Republican senators to live up to that, vote for this bill, come to the Oval Office for a signing, so that the very first thing of my presidency was to say, I'm giving you all this relief check, this long national nightmare is over, take this money, do with it what you need, we've all suffered together. The thing about Biden is, he has a portrait of FDR in his Oval, which kind of bothers me because he thinks of himself as an FDR-like figure. But this is, you have to understand the majesty of FDR. We're talking about a person who passed a piece of legislation 5 days after he became president. He passed 15 transformative pieces of legislation in the first 100 days. We're on day like 34, 35. And nothing's passed. The reconciliation bill will eventually become law, but it'll become law with no Republican vote. And again, that's fine. But it's not fulfilling that legacy and the urgency of the action. And the mandate, which I believe that history has handed it to Trump and he fucked it up, right? He totally screwed it up. He could have remade America and made us into the greatest country ever coming out on the other side of this. He decided not to do that. I think Biden was again handed that, like a scepter almost. It's like all you have to do, all America wants is for you to raise it up high. But he's keeping it within the realm of traditional politics. I think it's a huge mistake.
Why? So this is, everything you're saying makes perfect sense. Like okay. It's like, again, the aliens showed up. It's like the obvious thing to do. It's like, what's the popular thing? Like 80% of Americans support this. Like, do that, clean. Also do it like with like grace, where you're able to bring people together, not like in a political way, but like obvious common sense way. Like just people, the Republicans, the Democrats, to bring them together on a policy, and like just hammer it without the dirt, without the mess, whatever. Try to compromise. Yell with. Have a good Twitter account, like loud, very clear. I'm gonna give a $2,000 stimulus check. Anyone who wants a vaccine gets a vaccine. At scale, what make America? Let's make America great again by manufacturing. And we are manufacturing most of the world's vaccine because we're bad motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And well, without maybe with more eloquence than that, and just do that. Why haven't we seen that from many, for several presidencies?
Because of coalitional politics, and they owe something to someone. For example, Biden has got a lot of the Democratic constituency he has to satisfy within this bill. So there's going to be a lot of shit that goes in there, state and local aid. Again, I'm not even saying this is bad, but he's like, his theory is, and this isn't wrong, is like, we're going to take the really popular popular thing in the bill, and then we would never be able to pass state and local aid, right? Why would we do that? And the Republicans do the same thing, right? Like, Mitch McConnell, with his fucking idiot, decided to say, we're going to pair these $2,000 stimulus checks with, like, Section 230 repeal. It was like, oh, it's obviously dead, right? Like, it's not going to happen together. That's largely why I believe Trump lost the election, and why those races down in Georgia went the way that they did. Obviously, Trump had something to do with it.
I just want to trade a few things.
The reason why is they have long-standing things that they've wanted to get done. And in the words of Rahm Emanuel, never let a good crisis go to waste. And try and get as much as you possibly can done within a single bill. My counter would be this. Things have worked this way for too long, which is that the reconciliation bill is almost certainly going to be the only large signature legislative accomplishment of the Biden presidency. That's just how American politics works. Maybe he gets one more. Maybe one. He gets a second reconciliation bill. Then you're running through midterms. It's over. I believe that by trying to change the paradigm of our politics, leaning into
I just found this. What is Z-World?
possibly transcend that to a new one. And I'm not naive. I think people the way that we found this out was David Perdue, who is just a total corporate, Dollar General CEO guy. He was against the original $1,200 stimulus checks. But then Trump came out, who's the single most popular figure. I want to running. It's like, yeah, I'm with President Trump. I want a $2,000 stimulus check. That was some conservative politics to say, you can see there that you can force people to do the right thing because it's the popular thing. And that if it's clean, if you don't give them any other excuse, they have to do it. So this is what
Interesting.
gaslit into our culture.
I literally just opened a portal.
And the reason it feels so broken and awful is because it is. But there is a way out. It's just that nobody wants to be. It's a game of chicken, right? Because maybe it is true. Maybe we would never be able to get your other Democratic priorities, your Republican priorities. But I think that the country understands that this is fucking terrible and would be willing to support somebody who does it differently. There's just a lot of disincentives to not stay without. There's just a lot of incentives to not.
I think the game broke.
Yeah, it's also possible that the A students are not participating. Like, we drove all of the superstars away from politics. So, like, you just said, I mean, everything you're saying sort of
rings true. Like, this is the obvious thing to do. As a student of history, you can always, like, tell, like, if you look at great people in history, this is what great leaders in history, this is what they did.
Support from all
it's like
and from places like
clean,
that help me compare and find
action.
the best credit cards
Sometimes
for and
facing
travel.
crisis,
I
but
turn
we're
my
facing a
dreams
crisis.
No, we're in a crisis.
We've been, exactly. So why don't we see those leaders step up? That's, I mean, you say that's kind of like, it makes sense. There's a lot of different interests at play. You don't want to risk too many things, so on and so forth. But that's what, like, that sounds like the C students.
I don't think it's that. I think it's that the pipeline of politician creation is just totally broken from beginning to end. So it's not that A students don't want to be politicians. It's basically the way that our current primary system is constructed is what is the greatest threat to you as a member of Congress? It's not losing your re-election. It's losing your primary, right? So that means, especially in a safe district, you're most concerned about being hit if you're a Republican from the right, and if you're a Democrat from the left, for not being a good enough one. That's actually what stops people, heterodox people in particular, from winning primaries, because the people who vote in our primaries are the party faithful. That's how you get the production. It's important to understand the production pipeline, which is that, all right, I'm from Texas, that's what I know best. So it's like, if you think in Texas, if you're a more heterodox, like, state legislature or something who works with the left on this and does that, you're going to get your ass beat in a Republican primary. Because they're going to be like, he worked with the left to do this, blah, blah, take it out of context. And then that means you never ascend up the next level of the ladder. And then so on and so forth, all the way. But I do think Trump changed everything. this is why I have some hope, which is that he showed me that all the people I listened to were totally wrong about politics. And
I'm gonna quick save real quick and see if that one mod is still loaded, because that might be why we saw the Z World thing.
You know? Yeah, that's powerful, man. Yeah. I'm like, he did it.
That's exceptionally powerful.
I thought I deleted it, but I guess not.
Anything with it?
It doesn't matter. Right.
He showed that it's possible. Exactly. And that means a lot. That means you're absolutely right. There's young people right now that kind of turn around like, huh.
You're like, wait, I don't have to comb my hair a certain way and go to law school and be an asshole who everybody knows is an asshole.
Yeah.
And then get elected to state legislature. I mean, look, who's the #1 person in the New York City primary right now? Andrew Yang. He's polling higher than everybody else in the race. Look, maybe the polls are totally fucked, and maybe he'll lose because of ranked choice voting and all of that. But I consider Andrew. I mean, I know him a little bit, and I've followed his candidacy from the very beginning. I consider him an inspiration. He's the new generation of politics. Like, if I see who's going to be president 20 years from now, it's going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be Andrew Yang. I think it's going to be somebody like Andrew Yang, outside the political system, who talks in a totally different way. Right? Just a completely. One of my favorite things that he said on the debate stage. He's like, "Look at us, we're all wearing makeup. It's crazy, you know."
Yeah.
And he brought that. He brought that, and he's right. Like, yeah, why are they all wearing makeup?
He probably, arguably, hasn't gone far enough, almost.
Yes.
Because, but he showed that it's possible, and then you see other, like AOC is a good example of somebody, at least in my opinion, is doing the same kind of thing, but going too far. Well, I don't know. She's doing the Trump thing, but on the other side, so I don't know. What's too far?
Don't take a normative judgment of it.
Yeah.
I will tell you the future of politics looks
appreciate
like this.
the art of it.
Right? No, I do. Look, I'm not a big AOC fan, but she's a genius, media genius, once in a generation talent. The way that she uses social media, Instagram, and everybody on the right is like trying to copy her. Like Matt Gaetz is like, I want to be the conservative AOC. I'm like, it's just not gonna happen. Like, you just don't have it. Like, what she has, it's electric. And Trump had that. Like, I've been to a Trump rally, like, to cover as a journalist, and there's nothing like it in America. And Yang is similar. It's the same way, where you're like, there is something going on here. Which is just, like, I've been to an Obama rally, I've been to a Clinton rally, I've been to several normal yeah, it's fine, you know. Yeah. With Trump and with Yang, it's another world.
Yeah.
It's another world.
Yang Gang.
Yep.
There's probably thousands of people listening right now. He's just like doing a slow clap. Yes.
I know.
Yang Gang, forever. Okay, but my worst fear. I prefer Andrew Yang kind of free, improvisational idea exchange, all that, versus AOC, who I think, no matter what she stands for, is a drama machine, creates dramas, just like Trump does. I would say my worst fear would be in 2024, is AOC old enough? Would be AOC versus Trump.
I don't think she's old enough. I think it'd have to be, I think she's 30, so she's 5 more years, so probably not. Yeah.
Okay, but that kind of, that's, or Trump Jr.
Well, AOC probably wouldn't win a Democratic primary. So, I mean, look, Joe Biden is, they pretty much showed that.
That's exactly what you're saying. Yes, process grooms you over time. You see the same thing in academia, actually, which is very interesting, is the process of getting tenure. There's this, it's like you're being taught without explicitly being taught to behave in the way that everybody's behaved before. I've heard this, it was funny, I've had a few conversations that were deeply disappointing, which involved statements like, this is what's good for your career. This kind of conversation, almost like mentor to mentee conversation, where it's like, there's a grooming process in the same way, I guess you're saying the primary process does the same kind of thing. So, I mean, that's what people have talked about with Andrew Yang. He was being suppressed by a bunch of different forces, the mainstream media, and all. Just the democratic, just that whole process. Didn't like the honesty that he was showing, right?
But here's my question to you. People have got to see. Look, Jordan Peterson is one of the most famous people in America, right? Like, you have a massive podcast. You're more famous than half, 99% of the people at MIT. So, like, from that perspective, everything has changed. And somewhere out there, there's a student who's taking notice. And I've noticed that with my own career, everybody thought I was crazy for doing this show, Christopher the Hill. They thought it was nuts. They're like, what are you doing? You're a White House correspondent. You got a job forever. The other job offer I had was being a White House correspondent. And people thought I was nuts for not just sticking there and, you know, aging out within Washington, pining for appearances on Fox News and CNN and MSNBC. But I hated it. I just hated doing it. And I did not want to be a company man, like a Washington man, who's one of those guys who, like, brags to his friends about how many times he's been on Fox or whatever, mostly because I just have a rebellious streak and I hate being at the subject of other people. I created something new, which a lot of people watch to get their news. And I noticed that younger people, who are almost all my audience, they don't really look up to any of the people in traditional, right? They don't go and they're not coming up and being like, how do I be like Jim Acosta? You know, they're like, hey, how did you do what you did? And the way you did it is by bucking the system. So I think that we are at a total split point. And look, there will always be a path for people. Because, like, I don't want people to overlearn this lesson. I have people who are like, I'm not going to go to college. And I'm like, well, just wait. Yeah, I'm like, just... I'm starting. Yeah, like, stop. Just hold on a second. But there will always be a path for the institutional. That will always be there for you. But now there's something else. Now there's another game in town. And that's more appealing to millions and millions and millions and millions of people who feel unserved by the corporate media, CNN, and these people, possibly who feel unserved in the faculty. Like, if you are an up-and-comer who wants to teach as many young people as possible, I think you should be on YouTube, right? Like, look at the Khan Academy. That guy created a huge business. So I just think we can be cynical and, like, upset about what that system is, but we should also have hope. Like, I have a lot of hope for what can be in the future.
Yeah, there's a guy people should check out. So my story is a little bit different because I basically stepped aside with the dream of being an entrepreneur earlier in the pipeline than like a legitimate like senior faculty would. There's an example. Somebody you should check out, Andrew Huberman at Stanford, who's a neuroscientist. Who's as world class as he gets in terms of letting contain your faculty. Just a really world-class researcher, and now he's doing YouTube.
Okay, just take it.
So he switched. So he not just does Instagram. He now does a podcast.
Maybe we can work this.
And he's doing. He's changing the nature of like. I believe that Andrew might be the future of Stanford.
I saw you in that poison cell.
For a lot, it's funny. Like he's basically Joe Rogan is an inspiration to Andrew.
Look.
And to me as well. So those ripple effects, and Andrew is an inspiration, probably just like you're saying, to these young, like 25-year-olds who are soon to become faculty. If we're just talking about academia, and the same is probably happening with government. It's funny enough, Trump probably is inspiring a huge number of people who are saying, "Wait a minute, I don't have to play by the rules, and I can think outside the box here." You're right, and the institutions we're seeing are just probably lagging behind. So the optimistic view is the future is going to be full of exciting new ideas. So Andrew Yang is just kind of the beginning of this tip of the iceberg. And I hope that iceberg doesn't, it's not this influencer. One of the things that really bothers me, I've gotten a chance, I should be careful here, I love everybody, but these people who talk about like, how to make your first million or how to succeed and they're so, that makes me a little bit cynical about, I'm worried that the people that win the game of politics will be ones that want to win the game of politics. And like we mentioned AOC, I hope they optimize for the 80% populace thing, right? Like, they optimize for that badass thing that history will remember you as the great man or woman that did this thing, versus how do I maximize engagement today and keep growing those numbers? The influencers are so allergic to this, man. They keep saying how many followers they have on different accounts, and it's like, I don't think they understand. Maybe I don't. number went from 100 to 101 and being like, and today it went up to 105. Whoa, that's maybe this way, like, I wonder what I did. And yeah, in this way, one, it creates anxiety, psychological effects, whatever. The more important thing is it prevents you from truly thinking boldly in the long arc of history and creatively, thinking outside the box, doing huge actions. And I actually, my optimism is in the sense that that kind of action will beat out all the influencers.
Well, I don't know, Lex. This is where my cynicism comes in. So, there's a guy, Madison Cawthorn, the youngest member of Congress, and he, I don't want to say got caught, but there was like an email where he was like, my staff is only oriented around cons. Like, he was basically saying, he got basically caught saying, like, my staff is only on communications. The right play, if you do want to get the benefits of our current electoral, political, and engagement system, which is that, what's the best way to be known within the right as a right-wing politician? It's to be a culture warrior, go on Ben Shapiro's podcast, be one of the people on Fox News, go on Sean Hannity's show, go on Tucker's show, and all of that, because you become a mini celebrity within that world. Left unsaid is that that world is increasingly shrinking a portion of the American population, and they can't even win a popular election, let alone barely win and eke out an electoral college victory in 2016. Well, but the incentives are all aligned with it, and it's the same thing really on the left. But you're right, which is that ultimately, look, this is why geniuses are geniuses, because they buck the short-term incentives. They focus on the long term. They bet big, and they usually fail. But then when they get big, they succeed spectacularly. Yeah. The people I know who have done this the best are like a lot of the crypto folks that I've spoken to. Like, some of the stuff they say, I'm like, I don't know if that's going to happen. But look, they're like billionaires, right? Yeah. You know? And you're like, so they were right. So the way I've heard it expressed is, you can be wrong a lot, but when you're right, you get right big. And, I mean, I've seen this in Elon Musk's career. I mean, he took spectacular risk. Like, spectacular risk. And just double down. And you can kind of tell to him, I mean, you know better than I do, but, like, from my observation, I don't think the money matters. Like, when I see him, I'm like, nobody works as hard as you do and builds the way that you build if it's just about the money. It just doesn't happen. Like, nobody wills SpaceX into existence just for the money. Like, it's not worth it, frankly, right? Like, he probably could destroy years of his life and, like, mental sanity.
Money or attention or fame, none of that.
Yeah.
So that's not the primary priority.
Well, that's what's so appealing to me, in particular, about him. Just, like, in how he built. Like, I read a biography of him, and just, like, the way that he constructed his life, and, like, is able to hyper-focus in meeting after meeting and drill down. And also hire all the right people who execute each one of his tasks discreetly to his perfection is amazing. Like, that's actually the mark of a good leader. But, I mean, if you think about his career, the reason he's a renegade is because probably he was told to, like, put it in an index fund or whatever. Whatever he made is like $29 million. And from PayPal, I don't know how much money. And then just go along that run. He's like, no. So he succeeds spectacularly. So you have to have somebody who's willing to come in and buck that system. So for now, I think our politics are generally frozen. I think that model is going to be most generally appealing to the mean person. But somebody will come along and will change everything.
Yeah, I'm just surprised there's not more of them.
Yeah.
On that topic, it's now 21?
Yes.
Let's make some predictions you can be wrong about. Good. What major political people are you thinking will run in 2024, including Trump, Jr. or Sr., or Ivanka? I don't know. Who do you think wins?
I think Joe Biden will run again in 2024, and I think he will run against someone with the last name Trump. I do not know whether that is Trump or Trump Jr., but I think one of those people will probably be the nominee in 2024.
Somebody like that said that Trump will win the primary if
he runs again.
Of course, that's not even a question. Trump is the single most popular figure in the Republican Party by orders of magnitude. Oh, I mean, probably more, honestly. There was actually, I can tell you because I saw the data, which is that pre-January 6th, it was like 54% of Republicans wanted him to run again. Then it went down 8 points after January 6th, 2 days later, and then after impeachment, it went right back up to 54%. So the exact same number is in February, at post-impeachment vote, as it was after November. Now, look, yeah, again, surveys, bullshit, etc. But, like, that's all the data we have. That's what I can point you to. If Trump runs, he will be the nominee, and he will be the 2024 nominee. I just don't know if he wants to. It really depends. Like,
do you think he wins after the Trump vaccine heals all of us? Do you think Trump wins?
It depends on how popular culture functions over the next 4 years. And I can tell you that they are, because I don't think Biden has that much to do with it. Because again, Trump is not a manifestation of an affirmative policy action. It is a defensive bulwark wall against cultural liberalism at its best. So it's like, this is why it doesn't matter what Biden does. If there are more riots, if there is a more sense of persecution amongst people who are more leaning towards conservative or like, hey, I don't know about that, that's crazy, then he very well could win. Let's say Joe Biden doesn't run and they put up like Kamala Harris. I think he would beat her. And I don't think there's a question that Trump would beat Kamala Harris in 2024.
And you don't think anybody else, I don't know how the process works, you don't think anybody else on the Democratic side can take the...
Well, how could you run against the sitting vice president? You know, it's like if Joe Biden has a 98% approval rating in the Democratic Party. If he says, she is my heir, I think enough people will listen to him in a competitive primary or a non-competitive primary. And then there's all these things about how primary systems themselves are rigged. The DNC could make it known that they'll blacklist anybody who does try and primary Kamala Harris. And look, I mean, progressives aren't necessarily all that popular amongst actual Democrats. Like, we found that out during the election. There's an entire constituency which loves Joe Biden and Joe Biden level politics. And so if he tells them to vote for Kamala, I think she would probably get it. But again, there's a lot of game theory obviously happening.
But see, I think you're talking about everything you're saying is correct about mediocre candidates. It feels like if there's somebody like a really strong, I don't want to use this term correctly, but populist that speaks to the 80% that is able to provide bold, eloquently described solutions that are popular, I think that breaks through all of this nonsense.
How do they break through the primary system? The problem is the primary system is not populism. It's primary. So it's like...
But you don't think they can beat their way to...
Well, you have to be willing to win a GOP primary. You basically have to be... And whoever wins the GOP primary, in my opinion, will be the person most hated by the left. One of the things that people forget is, you know who came in second to Trump? Ted Cruz. And the reason why is because Ted Cruz was the second most hated guy by liberals in America, second to Trump. They have nothing in policy in common.
But don't you think this kind of brilliantly described system of hate being the main mechanism of our electoral choices?
Yeah.
Don't you think that just has to do with mediocre candidates? It's basically the field of candidates, including Trump, including everybody, was just like, didn't make anyone feel great. It's like, really? This is what we have to choose from?
Maybe a Mark Cuban. Or like, Mark Cuban as a Democrat. Or it would have to be somebody like that. Somebody who, because here's the thing about Trump. It's not just that it was Trump. He was so fucking famous. Like, people don't feel it. He was so famous. Like, even when I first met Trump, I met a couple of other presidents. But when I met Trump, even I felt like kind of starstruck. I was like, oh, this is the guy from The Apprentice. Yeah. I'm like, this is the dude. Like, because I'm like, my dad and I used to sit and watch The Apprentice when I was in high school. And then one of the guys was from College Station where I grew up, and we're like, oh my god, like, that guy's on The Apprentice. Like, it was a phenomenon. There's like that level. It's kind of like when I met Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. I don't feel that way when I meet Mitt Romney or Tom Cotton or Josh Hawley. I met all of them.
But there's a lot of celebrities, right? Do you think there's some celebrities you're not even thinking about that could step in? The Rock?
Have to be. So, I was about to say, I think The Rock could do it. But does he want to do it? I mean, it's terrible. Like, it's a terrible gig. It's very hard to do. I don't know if The Rock necessarily has, like, the formed policy agenda. Because then, here's the other problem. What if we set ourselves up for a system where, like, these people keep winning, but, like, with Trump, they have no idea how to do it? It's actually really hard, right? And you have to have the know-how and the trust to find the right people. This is where the genius element comes in. Is you have to understand that front, and you have to understand how to execute discrete tasks. Like, this is the FDR. This is why it's so hard. Lincoln, TR. They were who they were, and they live in history, and their name rings, like, for a reason. And, yeah, I mean, one of the most depressing lessons I got from 2020 is,
Okay.
it seems like, in my opinion, that we over-learn the lesson of our success and not of our failures. For example, like, we have this narrative in our head that we always have the right person at the right time during crisis. And in some cases, it was true. We didn't deserve Lincoln. We didn't deserve FDR. We didn't deserve a lot of presidents at times of crisis. But then you're like, okay, George W. Bush, 9/11, that was terrible. Reconstruction, Andrew Johnson, awful, right? Like, we had several periods in our history where the crisis was there, they were called, and they did not show up. And it hadn't happened in my lifetime, except for 9/11, and even then you could kind of see that as an opportunity for somebody like Obama to come in and fix it, but then he didn't do it, and then Trump didn't do it, and you realize, I feel like our politics are most analogous to, like, the 1910s, like, all in terms of the Gilded Age, in terms of that. Remember that long period of presidents between like Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt? We were like, wait, like, who was president? Like, or even TR was like an exception. We were like Calvin Coolidge, who, like, Silent Cow, Grover Cleveland. That's kind of how, if I think of us within history, I feel like we're in one of those times. We're just waiting.
It feels really important to us right now. Like, this is the most important moment in history, but it might be...
It could just be a blip, right? 20, 30-year blip. Like, when you think about who was president between 1890 and between, like, 1888 and 1910. Like, nobody really thinks about that period of America, but, like, that was an entire lifetime for people, right? Like, how did they feel about the country that they were in?
That's hilarious.
That's how I kind of think about where we are.
It's funny to think, I mean, I don't want to minimize it, but, like, we haven't really gone through a World War II style crisis, so, like, say that there is a crisis in, like, several decades of that level, right? Existential risks to a large portion of the world. Then what will be remembered is World War II, maybe a little bit about Vietnam, and then whatever that crisis is. And this whole period that we see as dramatic, even coronavirus. Even 9/11. It's like, because you can look at how many people died and all those kinds of things, all the drama around the war on terror and all those kinds of things. Maybe Obama will be remembered for being the first African American president, but then, like, that's oh man, even Trump will be like, okay, cool. Maybe he'll be remembered as the first celebrity. I mean, Reagan was already a governor, right? Yeah, so like the first apolitical celebrity that was in. So maybe if there's more celebrities in the future, they'll say that Trump was the first person to pave the way for celebrities to win. Oh man, yeah. And I still hold that this era will probably be remembered. People say that I talk about it way too much, but the reality is, like, there's not many people that are doing the kind of things he's doing. Is why I talk about it. I think this era, it's not necessarily Elon and SpaceX, but this era will be remembered by the space exploration of the commercial of companies getting into space exploration, of space travel, and perhaps like artificial intelligence around social media, all those kinds of things. This might be remembered for that. But all the political bickering, all of that nonsense, that might be very well forgotten.
One way to think about it is that the internet is so young. Yeah. I think about it. Right. So Jeff Jarvis, he's a media scholar I respect. He's not the artist. Anyway, it's kind of like the printing press. There was a whole 30 years war because of the printing press. Yeah. It took a long time for shit to sort out. I think that's where we're at with the internet. Like, at a certain level, it disrupts everything. And that's a good thing. It can be very tumultuous. I never felt like I was living through history until coronavirus. Like, you know, like until we were all locked down, I was like, I'm living through history. Like there's this very overused cliche in DC where every comm staffer wants you to think that what their boss just did is history. And I've always been like, this isn't history. This is some like stupid fucking bill, you know, whatever. But like that was the first time I was like, this is history. Like this.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping, tragedy aside, that I wish the primaries happened during coronavirus, so that because like then we can see this. So okay, here's a bunch of people facing crisis. It's an opportunity for a leader to step up. Like I still believe the optimistic view is the game theory of like influencers will always be defeated by actual great leaders. So, like, maybe the great leaders are rare, but I think they're sufficiently out there that they will step up, especially in moments of crisis. And coronavirus is obviously a crisis, where, like, you know, mass manufacture of tests, all kinds of possibilities that are done in 2020. There's so many possibilities for just, like, and none of that. You would just... You can't actually do any action advocating for it. Yeah. Just saying, like, Biden made, I don't even remember a single speech that Biden made, because there's zero bold, I mean, their strategy was to be quiet and let Donald Trump polarize the electorate and hope that results in them winning. Because of the high unemployment numbers and all those kinds of things, as opposed to like, let's go big, let's go with a big speech. You know that. Yeah, it's a lost opportunity in some sense. So we talked a bunch about politics, but one of the other interesting things is that you're involved with is or involved with defining the future of journalism. I suppose you could think of podcasts as a kind of journalism, but also just writing in general, just whatever the hell this thing looks like, it's up to be defined by people like you. So what do you think is broken about journalism?
I think the future of journalism looks much more like what you and I are doing here right now. And journalism is going to be downstream from culture. That can be a good and bad thing depending on how you look at it. We are going to our media is much more than we did pre-mass media. And the way that I mean that is that back in the 1800s in particular, especially after the invention of the telegraph, when information itself was known. So for example, like, you and I don't need, let's say you and I are competing journalists. You and I are no longer competing, quote unquote, to tell the public X event happened. All journalism today is largely explaining why did X happen. And part of the problem with that is that means that it's all up for partisan interpretation. Now, you could say that that's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. Because the highest level of literacy and news viewership in America was during the time of yellow journalism, was during the time of partisan journalism. Not a surprise. People like to read the news from people that they agree with. You could say that's bad, echo chambers, etc. That's the downside of it. The upside is more people are more educated. More people are interested in the news. So I think the proliferation of mass media, of this format, of
long form,
niching, of not just long form. I do updates on Instagram, which are 5 minutes.
Oh, you consider like Instagram?
Yeah.
Almost even Twitter.
Of course, Twitter. Twitter is where I get my news from. I don't read the paper. I have literally, Twitter is my news aggregator. It's called my Wire, where I find out about hard events, like the president has departed the White House.
But not only that, I don't know about you, but I also looked at Twitter to the exact thing you're saying, which is the response to the news. Like, the thoughtful, sounds ridiculous, but you can be pretty thoughtful in a single tweet.
If you follow the right people, you can get that. And so that is the future of media, which is that the future of media is it will be much smaller amount, or much larger amounts of people, which are famous to smaller groups. So Walter Cronkite's never going to happen again, at least probably within our lifetimes, where everybody in America knows this guy is. That age is over. I think that's a good thing, because now people are going to get the news from the people that they trust. Yes, some of it will be opinionated. I'm in my program. Crystal and I are like, we are this. She's coming from this view. I'm coming from this view. That's our bias when we talk about information, and we're going to talk about the information that we think is important. And it has garnered a large audience. I think that's very much where the future is going to be. And the reason why I think that's a good thing is because people will be engaged more within it rather than the current system, where news is highly consolidated, has groupthink, has the same elite production pipeline problem of everybody knows journalists all come from the same socioeconomic background, and they all party together here in D.C. or in New York or in L.A. or wherever, and they're part of the same monoculture, and that affects what they report. This will cause a total dispersion of all of that. The battle of our age is going to be the guild versus the non-guild. So, like, what we see right now with the New York Times and Clubhouse, this is a very, 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 very intentional thing that is happening, which is that the Times talking about unfettered conversations. That's happening on Clubhouse for people who aren't aware. This is important because they need to be the fetterers of conversation. They need to be the interagent. That's where they get their power. They get their power from convincing Facebook that they are the ones who can fact check stuff. They are the ones who can tell you whether something is right or wrong. That battle over unimpeded conversation and the explosion of a format that America was really well in, and then this more consolidated one, which holds cultural power, internet power, and more importantly, money, right, over you and I, that's the battle that we're all going to do.
Do you think unfettered conversations have a chance to win this battle?
Yes, I do. In the long run, the internet is simply too powerful. But here's the mistake everybody makes. The New York Times will never lose. It will just become one of us. See?
Do you think so?
They already are. They're the largest.
The Daily?
The Daily. Look at the Daily. Not even that. Think about it, not as a podcast. The Times is not a mass media product. It is a subscription product. Middle class, largely white adults with the same circumstances across the United States and in Europe. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. You can't be the paper when you're actually the paper of upper middle class white America. Your job is to report on the news from that angle and deliver the product they want. There's nothing wrong with that. Their stock price is higher than ever. They're making 10 times more money than they did 10 years ago. But it comes at the cost of not having a mass application audience. So, like, when I think people in our space are always like, the New York Times is going to be destroyed. No, it's actually even better. They will just become one of us. They already are. They're a subscription platform.
Well, yes, in terms of the actual mechanism, but, you know, New York Times is still, and I don't think I'm speaking about a particular sector. I think it, as a brand, it does have the level of credibility assigned to it still. You know, there's politicization of it, but there's a credibility. Like, it has much more credibility than, forgive me, than I think you and I have.
Right.
In terms of your podcast. Like, people are not going to be like, they're going to cite the New York Times versus what you said on the podcast for an opinion. I wonder, in the sense of battles, whether unfettered conversation, whether Joe Rogan, whether your podcast can become have the same level of legitimacy, or the flip side, New York Times loses legitimacy to be at the same level of in terms of how we talk about it.
It's a long battle, right? It's going to take a long time. And I'm saying this is where I think the end state is going. And look at what the Times is doing. They're leaning into podcasting for a reason. But not just podcasting as in NPR level, like, here's what's happening. Michael Barbaro is a fucking celebrity, right? The guy who does The Daily.
Yeah.
That guy's famous amongst theyese people. Because they're like, oh my god, I love Michael. Like, I love the way he does this stuff. Again, that's fine. More people are listening to the news. I think that's a good thing. Yeah. And then, who else do they hire? Ezra Klein from Fox. Karen Swisher. Or Jane Poston. Same thing. It's personalities who are becoming bundled together within this brand, right?
Okay, maybe I'm just in here. Because I love podcasting from the beginning. I loved Green Day before they were cool, man. But I'm bothered by it. Like, why doesn't Karen Swisher, she's done successfully? I think no, she was always a part of some kind of institution. I'm not sure. But
she started her own thing, I think.
Recode,
right, yeah.
The Recode. I don't know if that's her own thing. Yeah. So she was very successful there. Why the hell did she join the New York Times podcast? Why is Michael Barbaro not doing his own thing?
And because he wants the elite cachet that you just referenced within his social circle in New York. Which is that I think the biggest mistake that some of the venture people make is if we give everybody the tools that those people are all going to leave to like go Substack and go independent. Within their social circle, sacrificing some money for being independent is worth it to be a part of the New York Times.
That's sad to me because it propagates old thinking, like it propagates old institutions, and you could say that New York Times is going to evolve quickly and so on, but I would love it if there was a mechanism for reestablishing, like for building new New York Times in terms of public legitimacy. And I suppose that's wishful thinking because it takes time to build trust in institutions, and it takes time to build new institutions.
My main thing I would say is public legitimacy as a concept is not going to be there in mass media. Because of the balkanization of audiences. I mean, think about it, right? Like, this is like Legion, you know, the classic stuff around 1,000 true fans. Or no, sorry, like 100 true fans even now. Like, you can make a living on the internet just talking to 100 people. As long as they're all high-frequency traders. Some of the highest paid people on Substack, they don't have that many subs. It's just that they're Wall Street guys, right? So people pay a lot of money. Again, that's great. So what you will have is increasing balkanization of the internet, of audiences, of niches. People will become increasingly famous within those. You will become astoundingly famous. I'm sure you've noticed this with your fan base. I certainly have with mine. Like, 99% of people have no idea who I am. But when somebody meets, they're like, oh my god, I watch your show every day. Right? Like, it's the only thing I watch for news. Right? Like, instead of casually famous, if that makes sense, like, oh yeah, it's like Alec Baldwin. Oh shit. But you're not like, oh shit.
Alright guys, I'm gonna head off for a little bit.
This is a Ben Smith.
But later we'll return with a different game.
It's like, the future is everybody will be famous, but only to a small group of people. And I think that is true. But again, I don't decry it. I think it's great. Because I think that the more that happens, the more engaged people will be. And it empowers different voices to be able to come in and then possibly